You have asked for it, and here it is, a complete 2.5 hour course on how to scale your ecom paid ads agency from stuck below 15K a month to 50K a month in 6 months or less. That is my promise with this video. I promise that this will be the most valuable video you watch on YouTube in 2025 if you implement on the things I'm teaching you. And I will cover absolutely everything from booking meetings to cold outreach, authority-based attraction, pricing your services, creating your offer, sales, onboarding, meta fulfillment, Google fulfillment, and on and on. You will not watch this video without being unsure about what to do next. The only step you will have to take is actually implementing on the information I'm teaching you. And you might be asking, who is this weird Alex guy on your screen with a funny accent trying to teach me something? Well, let me tell you who I am. So a bit about my backstory to explain how I got to where I am. But first of all, about my agency, it's called Curve. I run my own ecom paid ads agency right now. I haven't stopped it to do coaching. I still actively run it. I spend most of my time every single day in my agency managing it. It's a paid ads agency for ecom brands that are spending at least 15K a month on ads. We're currently doing above 100K a month in revenue consistently for the last 3 months. We're managing over $1 million in ad spend. And we offer Meta ads, Google ads, Snapchat ads, and TikTok ads. And here are the brands we'd work with. Probably Domino's Pizza is the one you know the most about, but these other ones are also some big 7- and 8-figure brands in the e-com space. But quickly about me, how did I get here? I don't come from a rich family. I dropped out of high school. I don't have any kind of formal education. So let me tell you how I actually ended up scaling to over 100K a month at only 20 years old. It all started when I was about 13 years old. I was just a normal kid going to school. I tried every business model imaginable, and I was desperate to fit in and make something of myself. Some of the stuff I tried, and remember, this is only part of it, is running Minecraft servers. I was running Photoshop services on Fiverr. I was streaming on Twitch. I launched my own NFT project. I tried dropshipping, and just for reference, this is me at about 13 years old. Then 2022, I was 16 years old at this time. I was working in a candy store, mopping floors for, let's call it, a living. I was still in school. And this year, I moved to South America and dropped out of high school. And just in general, this was my degen phase. So this is me in a Paraguayan high school, first year of high school with tons of Paraguayan kids. And as you can see, I was mopping floors in a candy store. I was throughout 2022 still in high school and just, degenning and doing stupid shit. Next, in 2023, I turned 18 years old. I started my current agency and went all in on it. I moved out from home and I began documenting my journey on YouTube. So if you scroll back through my videos, you will see my journey from about 10K a month to where I am now. So I'm not making these numbers up. I have been posting a video a week for the last close to 2 years. This was my setup at the time. Some janky ass table with some random monitors. I ended up moving to Buenos Aires, lived in this nice penthouse apartment once my agency hit about 10K a month, and I built a pretty good physique for myself that I was happy with at the time. Then 2024 hit. This was the most revolutionary year of my life. I was 19 years old at the time. This year, I hit my first 10K month and my first 50K month in my agency, and I just began traveling the world. So I went to Bali, I went to Dubai, I went to Istanbul, lots of different places, just began doing fun stuff, all that money stuff you see on Instagram, jet skis, nice cars, dirt bikes, all of that fun stuff. And then 2025 just got even crazier. Now I'm 20 years old. I've hit my first 100K month in the agency. I got my first house, which is pretty cool to say at 20 years old. I bought my dream watch, which I'm wearing right now. I just began traveling business, fancy cars, all of this. I'm not trying to flex here. The point is not to flex, just to show my development and show that this did not happen in a day. I've been in the trenches for a long time. And this year, I've just been living the dream life that I was dreaming of since I was 12 years old. So here's a picture of my house. I'm driving, as I said, fancy cars, got an even better physique, which is important to me. Again, more fancy cars, traveling business, dream pretty much all of that fun stuff. Enough talking about myself. I hope this proves to you that I know what I'm talking about and I've been in the trenches for long enough to be able to teach you how to scale your own eCom paid ads agency to 50K a month in 6 months. That's the exact timeline I used in my own agency to hit that number. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Bring out your notepad. This will be, as I said, the most valuable 2.5 hours of your life. And if you're not able to watch a 2.5 hour video without getting distracted and without falling into your bad habits, I'm sorry, but there is no way for you to succeed in this game. Before we get into the new way of running cold outreach, I am going to explain why the old way doesn't work. And we're going to use 3 factors to explain why that is the case. And these 3 factors, any good agency owners would agree, are the most important factors to cold outreach. How easy is it to sell people that book calls from your outreach method? Second of all, which type of client quality does it bring? You don't want to be working with shit clients. And lastly, the long-term value of those clients. So let's jump into it. What is the old way of running cold outreach? Well, simple stuff: cold email, cold DMs, cold calling. All of these basic models, they have anywhere from a 1 to 5% ABR depending on which method you are using. Then you jump on a discovery call, and after that you have a 10% close rate on a 2 to 2.5K a month close. This is the most basic way of running cold outreach, and this is the way 95% of agency owners are doing it. This system focuses on quantity over quality. Sending more emails is better. Cold calling more emails is better, which I'll explain why is a flawed method of thinking in a second. It creates exponential complexity because sending 10,000 emails a month is not 10 times more difficult than sending 1,000 emails a month. It's exponentially more difficult. It's 50, it's 100 times more difficult because every single time you create a new proxy, you have more emails, you have more incoming mail to manage. Every single time you have to scrape new lead lists, it becomes more and more and more complex. So let's just quickly reverse engineer this model to show you in straight up numbers what this looks like. If you want to grow your agency to 50K a month, you need about 20 clients. Let's be optimistic and say that you sign clients on just over 2K a month. With a 10% close rate, you need 200 discovery calls to reach that number. At a 2% ABR, you need to send 10,000 cold emails, and with a 3-month lifetime, each client is worth 7.5K to you. So just to maintain this system, once you get to 50K a month, if you want to stay at 50K a month, you have to send 3,300 cold emails and take 66 discovery calls every single month. So 2 calls a day every single day and 100 cold emails every single day just to maintain 50K a month. We're not even talking about growing your agency. So I hope you begin understanding why this is a flawed model to get to anywhere above 15K a month. The second factor why this model sucks is the ease of sale. It creates a difficult sales process because of this thing I call know, like, and trust. For someone to buy from you, they have to know you, they have to like you, and they have to trust you. With this model, they know you because you've contacted them, so they know who you are. They don't really like you because nobody likes to be cold called or cold emailed, and they don't trust you because you cold approach them. And the reason they don't trust you is because of risk. It's high risk to the client. You are charging a retainer. They don't actually have any guarantee that you will do your job. And it's all just filled with risk for this potential client because they don't find you, you contact them, which in turn creates a low close rate because you get a ton of objections. You're probably pretty familiar with constantly dealing with objections. Oh, I need to talk to my wife. I can't afford this. I don't trust you. I'm not sure if this is the right fit for me right now. All of the bullshit appears when you are booking calls with cold clients using these standard cold outreach methods. Then client quality. You close clients, if you actually end up closing them on this 10% closing rate, you get high maintenance clients that are much harder to keep happy and require more time invested per client, which in turn causes you to have lower margins. The reason they are higher maintenance is because they don't trust you. So they will be asking more questions. They'll be on your neck. They'll be much less lenient because the dynamic is that they are doing you a service and not the other way around. It also creates a lot of churn because again, they're not lenient. The first time you fuck up, you can be sure that they will kick you out, which creates a hamster wheel and Churn is basically the worst thing that can happen in your agency because it negates absolutely everything else that you do. You can send 1,000 emails, you can take 100 sales calls, you can do 50 audits, close 5 people, but if they end up churning, all of it was for nothing, and it gives you less referrals because again the power dynamic is off. They're doing you a service and not the other way around. Lastly, the long-term value of these clients. The retention of these clients is usually 3 to 4 months. That's pretty standard in the agency game. The average monthly invoice at about 2.5k a month, which gives you an LTV of 7.5 to 10k a month, which is far from ideal. Sending so many emails, taking so many sales calls just to get 10k over 3 to 4 months is pretty crazy and not a scalable way to build an actual business. So what is the new way of running cold outreach and why is it so amazing? Well, first of all, the long-term value. You have 7 to 9 month retention with the exact same service using this model because the person goes into the partnership with a completely different lens. They feel like they are doing you a service, which I'll get to in a second why that happens. They are much more lenient to you. So if you fuck up, they won't kick you out immediately. They'll give you several tries so you can keep fucking up. I'm not saying that you should, but you can with this type of outreach, and it just has a lot more trust in the fundamentals of your partnership. If you want to take this even a step further and not have the same service, have an amazing service to increase this retention even more, check out my service delivery video. I'll link it down in the description. This model gives an average monthly invoice of about 4k a month. At my agency, we are at about 5.5k actually, but to be realistic, let's say 4k. This is where I was at in the beginning of my journey, which gives you an LTV of $36,000, which means that each client becomes 3.6 times more worth with the exact same input. This is the literal definition of leverage. The client quality, well, because of the initial approach, we're only targeting the top 3% of your ICP. You only work with the best of the best brands. So with this strategy, we're not going to be blasting every single e-com brand out there. We're only going to go after the ones that we actually really want to work with. Using this method allows you to sign low maintenance clients that are easy to keep happy because again, they are lenient. They don't expect as much from you and allows you to spend less time per client, which gives you higher margins. Because of course, the less time you spend managing each client, the more clients you can have and the higher your margins will be. It also creates low churn and you escape this hamster wheel of constantly having to replace churned clients, which creates a compounding effect because you only need the bare minimum to maintain your current MRR. You don't have to be on this hamster wheel constantly running just to keep the revenue that you're already at. Every single new client you sign basically just becomes an addition to your current revenue, which allows you to constantly be scaling. It also gives you a ton of referrals because e-com brand owners usually know at least 10 other e-com brand owners, and when you deliver great work for one of them, they will introduce you to the rest of their network, which again creates a ton of leverage. It's this concept of the 5 handshakes to reach anyone. I think it's 5 handshakes. Basically, through 5 steps, you can reach anyone in the world, no matter where in the world you are. While with this one, just through one person, you get access to a giant network of other potential clients. Lastly, just general life enjoyment. We are running this business full-time. We are spending a lot of our personal time on making this work. So having fun clients that you really enjoy working with makes your life so much more colorful and makes you enjoy your days so much more, which in turn causes you to work more on your business, which causes you to grow more. So you have these personal benefits to it as well. Then the ease of sale. It creates the easiest sales calls ever because they are based on value. And this is the closest you will ever get to getting a warm lead from cold outreach, which allows me to have 30 to 40% close rates in my agency. It also checks all the boxes on the know, like, trust system. So they know you, they like you because they book a call based on value. I'll get to what this model is exactly in a second. And they trust you. So paired with my sales process, the sales calls become so easy, you literally can't make it up. And again, I'll link to the sales process down in the description. Go and check that out after this video. So what is actually this model? It's value-based personal looms, and that is a quality over quantity strategy. You're only sending 30 to 40 pieces of outreach daily. You're not blasting tens of thousands of people every single month the way you usually do with email, and the bar just becomes higher and higher. I've met people blasting 300,000 to 400,000 emails every single month in the US alone. This only requires 900 to 1,000 pieces of outreach every single month. And the method is that you record personalized Loom for every single prospect, which is sent by email directly to the person's private email. So you don't want to be reaching out to info@ or support@ emails. You only want to be reaching out to personal emails, and you want to include the personalized Loom in the first email. So you don't ask this, can I send you a video bullshit, and then send the video. You send it in the first email. This is such a gem. Nobody does this. Everyone knows that when you are reaching out to them asking to send a video, you will record the video after they say yes. People aren't stupid. We're dealing with business owners that have quite a bit of wit. So just start the conversation by providing value, by sending those personalized Looms in the initial email. What should the Loom actually contain? Well, it should be 2 minutes and 45 seconds to 3 minutes long. And the idea is to just give feedback and give them as much value as possible using the ads that are available in the ads library. So Meta, Google, Snapchat, and TikTok all have ads libraries where you can look up a particular business's ads, which ads they are running at that moment. You can go through that and you can give them feedback. I would change this creative, I would turn off this technical setting, I would try this angle, just giving them tons of value, giving them aha moments. And of course, you're not able to give them the most comprehensive audit ever, because what you see in the ad libraries is pretty surface level. But what it will do is position you as a person who is willing to give away all your secrets and just give them value without expecting anything in return, which is so rare in today's market, where everyone is immediately pitching or using these bullshit strategies like, I'll send you a video, let me know, and then they record the video afterwards. At the end, have a simple CTA, no push, no like crazy sales tactics. This works wonders because, again, people are so used to people immediately putting in their calendar links or immediately going for the throat. But you just say, hey, I have more ideas. If you want, we can jump on a call. We'll discuss it. If not, that's completely fine. Have an amazing day. It's so refreshing for people to get a value-packed email without any super crazy CTAs on the end. And in turn, it makes more people actually book a call with you because they trust you. Again, going back to this whole know, like, trust thing. And the cool thing about using a simple CTA like this is that it ensures that you only jump on calls with clients that are actually interested. Why? Because you're not pushing them to do anything. So if they actually end up booking a call, they are doing it because they're actually interested, and you will close much higher quality clients for your agency. Lastly, let's just reverse engineer this model to show you what it looks like in straight up numbers. So to get to 50K a month, now you only need 12 clients instead of 20 clients. At a 40% close rate, you only need 30 discovery calls to get to this stage. Imagine that, only 30 discovery calls to get to 50K a month. At a 3% ABR, you only need to send 1,000 pieces of outreach, and at a 9-month lifetime, you have a $36,000 LTV, which means that you only need to send 111 Looms and take 3 discovery calls every single month to maintain 50K a month. And anything above that is straight up scale for your agency. And then 100K a month is right around the corner, and then 200K a month, 300K a month. This creates a compounding system. Why does this happen? Why does it make the sales process so simple, and why does it make it so simple to maintain your current numbers? Because of leverage in each step. We have a higher monthly retainer, which means that we need fewer clients. We have a higher close rate, which means that we need fewer discovery calls. We have a higher ABR, which means that we need fewer pieces of outreach. And lastly, we have a much higher lifetime, which gives us much more value for every single client that we are closing. So just to compare, I've put together this quick comparison dashboard. Cold outreach close rate is 10%. For personalized Looms, it's 30 to 40%. Expect about 30% in the beginning, then you can bump it to 40 and even 50% with time. AOV for cold outreach is 2.5K a month. Personalized Looms, it's 4K a month. LTV, cold outreach is 7.5K a month at 3 to 4 months. For personalized Looms, it's $36,000 and 7 to 9 months lifetime. Again, remember, this is for the exact same service. This doesn't require you to do any changes to your actual service delivery. Effort is the exact same for both models. And lastly, the client quality. For standard cold outreach, it's much more difficult to deliver the service, and you have about 40 to 50% margins if you're lucky, while with my model, the personalized looms, it makes it so easy to deliver the service, and you have 75+% margins. My personal agency is at over 100K a month, and we're still doing 75% margins. I have generated over $150,000 in revenue for my digital agency through LinkedIn. And in this video, I want to show you the exact strategy that I used, what kind of outbound strategies I run, how I build a personal brand, and the frameworks that I use, what kind of webinars I run to convert cold prospects, all of that good stuff. But first of all, you probably are wondering why LinkedIn. You have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have Twitter, all of these other platforms. Why did I choose LinkedIn? Well, simply enough, because it is a business platform, and when people are on LinkedIn, they are in a business state of mind. They are more approachable and easier to pitch something business related than when they are just scrolling on Facebook or on Instagram. So I have much higher conversion rates, and I just like to have different types of personal brands on the different platforms. On YouTube, I post more about the agency. On LinkedIn, I go super agency specific, targeting CMOs, targeting our ideal customer profile. So I know that a lot of people write LinkedIn off immediately, but don't watch this video. You will realize how powerful it is for scaling your agency. So first of all, of course, you have personal brand on LinkedIn. I'll also, as I said, touch into Outbound and also the conversion funnel that we use on LinkedIn. But first of all, as I said, the most important part, the personal brand, it is divided into a couple of different parts. It is the actual posting part, where you post different posts to build an audience. Second of all, you have to actually nurture your own audience. Third, you leverage other people's audiences. And fourth, you run webinars to attract a new audience. So first of all, let's go through the posting. You have to post daily on LinkedIn, ideally even several times a day, but start off posting once a day, every single day at 11 a.m. And the reading time of your post should be anywhere between 1 to 3 minutes. So don't write like blog posts that take 15 minutes to read. They should be short, they should be snappy. People should be able to read them while sitting on the toilet without having to spend too much time and energy thinking about it. And always include a picture, which is either a selfie or a mirror picture, like one of these. These are the ones that perform the best on LinkedIn. Trust me, I have tried a lot of different images, and these by far outperform all the other types. So for actually generating content ideas and posting content, I have this thing called a content matrix, which is a Google sheet that just allows me to generate a ton of high value viral post ideas. If you want access to this content matrix and to this entire document, just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll send it over to you. But it looks like this. Super simple. How it works is that on the left, you choose the different topics that you are going to talk about. So let's say for me, that is Google ads, that is Meta ads, the different ad platforms, because I run a paid ads agency. So I would choose something in that sense. And on the horizontal part here, we have the different types of posts that you can run on LinkedIn. You have actionable posts, where you step by step explain how someone can do something. You have motivational posts, which are a bit more like top of funnel, fluffy, just motivating people to do something. You have listicles, where you have just a list of things like the best settings to enable in your meta ads, whatever. You get the point. So what you do is that you fill in these fields with an idea. This shouldn't take you too long. It should, with time, become pretty natural and snappy when you see this. So actionable, Google Ads. How to set up Google Ads for complete beginners. You get the point? There we have one post idea. Next one is a motivational. Why you shouldn't give up on Google Ads. You get the point? You just go through this entire thing. I usually have anywhere between 8 to 10 topics, so this list gets pretty big. But next time you go to actually write a post, you just go into this content matrix, you choose one that you find interesting, and you write a post about it. And once you have actually written about it, just select that idea, click here, just gray it out so that you know not to write about it again. And once you begin using up all the ideas, you just copy this template and do the process all over. Also, fill out these 4 cells here. First of all, outcome, what do you actually want to achieve with your LinkedIn personal brand? For me, that is to generate clients for my agency, for example. Focus, what is the focus of your content? What do you want to achieve by actually posting on LinkedIn? That is to, for example, position yourself as an expert to make people come to you to book in meetings. Number 3, structure. What kind of vibe and what kind of philosophy are you going to be using when you are writing LinkedIn posts? For example, cold hard facts mixed in with controversial opinions. How do you want people to perceive you? And 4th, polarity. You have to be polarizing. You have to say something different and something that most people will not agree with. You have to aim at having 20% of the people that see your post actually resonate and want to follow you, and the other 80% should hate you. It may sound counterintuitive, but you are not going to build a strong following if you try to appeal to everyone. So find what your main polarizing point is and use these 4 cells when you are filling out the post ideas, always keeping them in mind. Jumping back to the Miro board, in the content, when you are posting, the goal is to position yourself as an expert. So whatever your topic is, if you are running a copywriting agency, you have to position yourself as a copywriting expert, and every single post should reinforce that. Not necessarily because you talk about copywriting in every single post, but you have to, in every single post, build trust through, for example, sharing wins in your agency, sharing wins of your clients who have used your copywriting, actually sharing different copywriting tips. You get the point. There are different ways of building authority and becoming an expert, but that should be the main goal of your LinkedIn personal brand. And as I said, you have to be slightly controversial. Don't try to appeal to everyone. Find what kind of opinions you have that are polarizing and go all in on those on LinkedIn, because otherwise you're just not going to grow a following. Also, once a week, run a giveaway, which is just a post where someone comments a word to get access to a resource. So you probably have a lot of SOPs or different resources in your agency. If not, put together some quick guides, use ChatGPT if you'd like the 10 best copywriting tips, for example, all put together in a document, like a blog post type thing, and people comment a word and you send it to them. You can also use automations if you'd like to send them out. That way you generate a ton of comments on your post. You always respond to those comments. So if 50 people comment on your post to get your resource, you reply to each one of them like, hey, I sent it over. Then you have 100 comments. If someone sees your post, looks, damn, 100 comments, this must be valuable, more people will begin commenting, which will generate even more comments. You get the point. It becomes this flywheel. So use giveaways actively once per week. Every single Friday, post a giveaway. It won't take much time once you actually get into the habit of making them. Should take you like 20 minutes max to make one of those documents. Here is a quick breakdown of how to actually structure the post. So now we have figured out what we are going to post, what the main idea behind the post is through the content matrix, but how do you actually write it? Well, here is the framework. We start off with a hook to get the person hooked and wanting to read the actual post. Should be something, again, controversial, snappy. Don't reveal the whole truth, but don't be too vague either. Then have a promise under that, what they actually will get by reading the post. And then you have the actual value. The main part should take up about 70 to 80% of the post. Here, use short sentences, be snappy. Don't have giant paragraphs of text. Every sentence should be max like 8 to 9 words, in my opinion, as you can see here. Constantly skipping to a new line, no huge boxes of text. End off with a summary and then a quick call to action, which in my case is usually a question just to spark some comments and then begin nurturing those comments again to build a chain of comments. So you ask a question, what are your biggest challenges with scaling up? Someone answers, my biggest challenge is hiring people, whatever. Then you answer that comment with another question like, hey, what are you struggling with when it comes to hiring? Maybe I can refer you to some good hiring people that I know. Let me know. They answer, and you just have a conversation going in the comments, and that way, again, you build up hundreds and hundreds of comments under that LinkedIn post, which again boosts your credibility. And as I said, use a picture of yourself, which is a selfie or a mirror picture. Of course, your first couple of posts won't be perfect. You probably won't get many likes or much reach, but that is part of the game. You will refine your skills. I can only show you the frameworks. I cannot teach you how to exactly make a viral post because it's so different between the different industries, between the different niches, between the different services. You get the point. There is no one size fits all solution, but I have given you the best framework that you can use to get started. Also, webinars have been huge for my agency. Host one webinar per month every 4th to 5th week, which should be 60 minutes of you live on LinkedIn talking about whatever it is that you are an expert on. So let's use copywriting as an example. So you should have a 40-minute presentation where you talk about copywriting. It should be, again, something polarizing, like the 3 best tips or the 3 best strategies that you have to know for copywriting in 2025. Otherwise, you are not going to succeed. Something like that. Again, 40 minutes of you just going through your strategies, give away everything you know. That's the point with LinkedIn. You have to share all your knowledge. Don't hold back, because 99.9% of the people who actually watch your content will be impressed by what you know, but they are not actually going to do anything about it themselves, and they will come to you to actually do the implementation. So give away the information, but sell the implementation. Use restream.io to actually stream the live to LinkedIn. After the 40-minute presentation, have a 10-minute Q&A where you just open up the chat for people to ask questions. You answer them. Again, spark some questions, spark some conversations, spark some debates. And the goal here is to just build authority. So when people ask questions, be super confident in your answers. And after the Q&A, you have 10 minutes to make an offer. People have already been with you for 50 minutes, so they have already dedicated close to an hour of their time to listening to you. So it's much easier to spend 10 minutes pitching an offer at the end versus the beginning or even in the middle. So the offer should be something with a one-time fee to get a foot in the door. The goal is not to sell your main service immediately. You don't want to sign people on retainers from webinars, because usually people who join your webinars know slightly who you are, but they are not close to ready to buy your main service. So make a one-time offer that resonates with whatever you were presenting earlier. So for example, for my agency, when we are running webinars, we usually reveal 3 huge, important strategies that you have to have in your business to succeed with paid ads, which is usually something within tracking, within attribution, within creative. 3 very concise, simple, but still powerful strategies. And then at the end, we make an offer where we actually offer to fix all 3 of them for a one-time fee to, again, as I said, get a foot in the door. Usually it's anywhere between $1,500 to $1,800. Nothing huge. It's not a huge investment. No, as I said, retainer contract, just a single one-time offer. We sign people on that, and then we actually deliver on our promise. The person sees that we actually know what we're doing, and then they come back to us later to actually buy our full service. Plus, also, it's an okay cash grab. If you get 5 converters, then you added an extra 10K to your agency that month. Why not? Doesn't hurt. Next, after posting daily and hosting webinars once per month, you have to nurture your own audience once you actually begin building an audience. So here you can do 2 things. One, as I said, is spark conversation in comments, but more importantly is reach out to 10 people daily just looking for a conversation. Read through people's profiles. If they have a new baby, for example, write, hey, congrats on your new baby. How is parenthood treating you? Something like that. Show them that you have done your research and spark conversations. Most of them won't lead anywhere. You will exchange a couple of messages and the conversation will die out. But with some, you will actually begin nurturing that relationship. They will begin asking questions. You will keep building your authority, and eventually some of them will become clients. That is the whole goal of building a personal brand, to just nurture relationships until they are ready to buy. And also the last thing you can do on LinkedIn, which is pretty cool, is to leverage other people's audiences. So what you can do is comment on 20 other people's posts daily. So read the post, come up with a relevant comment that adds value to the main post. So don't use ChatGPT for this, because everyone knows what a ChatGPT comment looks like. Actually, as I said, read the post, add some value to the post by commenting. Again, most comments won't be seen by many people, but if the post, for example, ends up blowing up and you have the top comment, you will gain a lot of audience from that. And also just like 50 posts daily. That should take you like 3 minutes max, just like scrolling through your feed and liking 50 posts. Also, a trick is to do both of these things right before you post your own posts on LinkedIn, because that increases the reach that your post gets. That's like a little known LinkedIn strategy. So first do this, then actually go and post whatever it is that you are going to post at 11 a.m. that day. Next part, outbound on LinkedIn. This one will generate results a lot quicker than building your personal brand, because of course you can begin reaching out to people immediately. Here we have two different types of DMs that you can send to people. That is one, a value-driven DM, while the second one is an audience-driven DM. So a value-driven DM is where you give something away for free. Be honest about what you are doing. Say that it is an offer. Say that you have found some room for improvement in their ad accounts or on their website, whatever your offer is, and don't be pushy. Say like, hey, if you want, I can do a free audit. No strings attached. If not, then not, like no worries. Because again, remember, the whole goal with LinkedIn is to build relationships. So if you nuke all of the relationships by being super pushy, you will not get the maximum results possible from LinkedIn. Second type of DMs is an audience-driven DM, where you leverage existing trust in your audience, where you just send a super simple DM inviting them to chat. No offer, no nothing. You just say, hey, you want to jump on a quick meeting? I love your growth, would love to chat more. Like, again, don't mention your service, don't mention your offer. The goal is to just build a relationship. So jump on a quick call with that person, 15 minutes, just get to know them, ask about their business. They will most likely ask about your business. And then with time, they will come back when your service is actually relevant for them. One thing to note here is that it will probably take much longer than you expect before you're able to actually begin leveraging existing trust, because it takes a lot of time to build trust. So just be aware of that once you begin building your personal brand on LinkedIn. Lastly, of course, how do we actually convert people to a meeting to then sell them on our service? Through LinkedIn, it can happen in 3 different ways. First of all, people can reach out to you, which is inbound. Second of all is that you can reach out to people, which is outbound, which I covered just now. And the third is people converting on your webinar offer. So these 3 are the only ways that people can convert from LinkedIn. You have to have a super clear funnel in your mind when you are building a personal brand. You have to understand exactly where a new audience is being generated and how that audience will be converted to actual customers. Always, 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 no matter how they reach out to you or how you reach out to them, book them in through Calendly, because in Calendly you can enable the app to send out an automated pre-meeting follow-up. So set it up to send out a reminder 24 hours before the call and then 1 hour before the call, which will drastically improve your show-up rate and of course lead to a meeting on which you can actually close the person on your service and add MRR to your agency. First of all, we'll cover what the old pricing model is that 99% of agency owners use. You probably use the same one, and why it is a broken way to price your services. Then I'll go through what this new pricing model is that I use. And lastly, I will reveal a juicy secret. I will tell you how you can use this new pricing model to fly business and first class free forever. So let's get straight into it. First of all, the old pricing model. The standard way to price your agency services is to just charge a 2 to 3K a month retainer charged once a month in advance, and maybe on top of that a setup or an onboarding fee of 2 to 5K that you charge upfront once when you sign on the client.
but that is it. Well, there are a couple different issues with this model. I will be breaking down each of these models based on their sellability, their scalability, the initial charge that you get with this model, and lastly, the incentive. So first of all, the sellability. Why is charging this kind of retainer a bad way to sell to new clients? Well, because it is difficult to sell. It has a high risk to the client and there is no risk to you, which you may think is a good thing, like no risk, that's perfect. Well, it's not, because it makes you complacent, because you don't have any incentives to actually perform better. It also has no trust. So completely fundamentally, when people buy from you, it is because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. The know part makes up 10% of the purchase decision. The like part makes up 30%. And the biggest one by far is the trust part, which makes up 60% of the buying decision. And by you having this kind of pricing model, you are showing that you're not willing to put your money where your mouth is, which decreases the amount of trust that people have to you when they jump on a sales call, which makes it difficult to sell. Next, scalability. How scalable is this model? Well, it is unscalable because the retainer you charge is the maximum that you will charge that client. Maybe every once in a while you can do a slight price increase or do an upsell, but you will never be able to 10x the amount that you charge a client. You'll never be able to sign someone on 3K a month and then begin charging 30K a month, which is the kind of increase that we are looking for in our agency. 10x measures. And that happens because you are a commodity. It is you versus every other agency out there. And every time you increase your prices, the client will consider the other options because you are equal to every other agency out there. Yes, you may have some unique selling points and some unique ways of doing things, but fundamentally, you're just like every other agency out there. Then initial charge, it is again limited to the market rate because you are a commodity. You are competing against the other agencies out there, which creates a low initial charge before any increases and upsells because you are considered an expense and not an investment in your client's eyes. So every price increase makes you more of an expense, which is a completely shit position to be in. You don't want to be compared to other agencies and you don't want people to draw lines between you and other offers out there. Lastly, the incentives of this model, and the main reason why I don't like this model. Incentives are so important. I will get to that in a second. This model has no incentives, which means that if you generate better results, you're not going to make any more money. And what is the incentive for you to then deliver better results? Well, there is none. Also, if you want to give your team incentives, those would have to come out of your own pocket. So every time you pay your employees more, you will earn less because again, there is no incentive from the client. So that incentive has to come from somewhere, which is your own pocket, which creates a dilemma because you need incentives to build a team of A players. No business out there has an amazing team of high performers of A players without incentives. So either you take a cut in your own salary or you don't have incentives, which is not optimal either way. So that brings me on to this new way of pricing the services in your agency, and that is performance-based invoicing. You invoice the client based on the revenue that you generate that client, which is the beauty of running ads. You are able to see the direct return of the work that you do. If you run ads better and learn something new, the client will see that impact, you will see the direct return, and you will be paid more. So there are a couple different types of performance, different ways of structuring this kind of deal. You can have a percentage of spend, you can have KPI-based one-time performance bonuses, and you can have a percentage of revenue. I don't like having a percentage of spend because the incentive, again, is completely wrong. You are incentivized to increase the client's budgets, which is not necessarily what they need to succeed in business. So again, you are working towards different goals, which is not an optimal way to run a business. The next one is a KPI-based one-time performance bonus, where if you reach a certain KPI, let's say a certain spend with a certain ROAS, you get a one-time bonus of, I don't know, 4K, 5K, 10K, doesn't matter. The reason why this model is not ideal is because it gives you those bonuses in lump sums and you're not able to forecast and actually have a predictable source of income. So you get those cash grabs every once in a while, but you're not able to build a sustainable business on the top of that. So the model that I prefer and that I recommend for you, and the one that I'm using right now, is a percentage of revenue. Here, you can either take a percentage of revenue including the ad spend or excluding the ad spend. So including the ad spend, you would not be subtracting the ad spend from the final calculation, while excluding ad spend, you would. So the model that I use at my own agency, the most default model out there, this works like a charm, is taking 5% of ROAS above ad spend. So what that would look like in practice is the following. If your client spends, let's say 20K on ads in a certain month and you generate them a 5x ROAS, you take those 20K times 5, which gives you 100,000, and then you subtract those initial 20K in spend, leaving you with 80K. You take 5% of that, which is 4K. And the reason that we want to be subtracting the spend from this calculation is because this is money that the client would have had either way, so you're not really giving them any value by taking a percentage off of that. So you don't really deserve to take performance on that. And again, this all goes back to having the right incentives and being aligned with your client. So we want to be aligned on every single one of these steps. So I recommend taking 5% of ROAS above ad spend as your pricing model. Let's get into why this is such an amazing model. First of all, sellability. It is so easy to sell because there is no risk to the client, and this goes back to Alex Hermosi's make an offer so good they feel stupid saying no saying, because what you're saying basically by having this model is that we'll earn you more money and you'll only pay us once we do. And of course you can say this on the actual sales calls, but that is the underlying assumption behind having a performance model like this one, and this creates a high amount of trust. So going back to this know, like, trust model, they will know you because they are on a sales call. I can't really promise that they will like you based on this model. It will certainly help them like you, but it's not going to be the only deciding factor, but they will trust you because you are showing that you're willing to put your ass on the line and you are confident in your results, which will drastically increase your conversion rate on sales calls. Next, the scalability of this model. It is hugely scalable because you are completely responsible for the results. Only you dictate how much you earn. So if you want to earn more, you just have to become better at what you do, learn something new about meta ads, run the ads better, generate your client a higher ROAS, and that way earn more money, which creates an incredible drive for self-improvement and self-development, which is such a fundamental part of running an agency. This is probably one of your first businesses ever. You are trying to learn the art of business, and having this drive for self-development embedded into the pricing model that you are using will give you so much more development, so much quicker than you would by just having a fixed retainer that pays you the same amount every month without having any incentives to actually become better. It is also just an incredible feeling seeing the direct impact of your hard work. There is such a short feedback loop. If, let's say, this night you read a book, you learn something new about meta ads, tomorrow you go and implement it in the accounts, and then in the evening already you will see the results and begin earning more money, which again is just why I love this agency model. You have direct feedback. If you're doing something wrong, you will see that. If you're doing something right, you will see that. Next, the initial charge of this model. How much are you able to charge initially when just signing a client? Well, you can charge more money using this model than you would be able to with a retainer because you are considered an investment and not an expense by your clients, which reveals a core business truth. You always want to be considered an investment and you never want to be considered an expense, because again, every time you increase your prices, you will be considered more and more and more of an expense until they end up canceling their partnership with you. So basically having this model also decreases churn. If you have a lower spending account where just taking a percentage of ROAS above ad spend doesn't really make sense because they are spending so little, let me put you on, let me drop some sauce here. Introduce a minimum charge. So you say, I will take 5% of ROAS above ad spend, but with a 2,500, 3K a month minimum, which is a cheat code. You may say, but Alex, this kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a performance model. No, it doesn't, because the fundamental model is still performance, and it is only the perception of the client that actually matters, and they still perceive you as an investment. So this is such an easy way to increase your conversion rate and keep clients for longer and earn more money just by positioning your pricing differently, even if you have a minimum charge and technically you're just charging a retainer the first couple of months. Lastly, the incentives, the most important part of why this model is so amazing. Again, this reveals another core human truth. People do whatever they are incentivized to do. That is a fact in business, in personal life, in your family, in the gym. And this model allows for incentives without taking from your salary, because you only pay the incentives when your agency earns more. So let me get into how you can actually structure this in your own agency. There are a couple different types of performance-based incentives that you can introduce for your employees. The first one is a performance-based incentives. The second one is a milestone-based incentives. And the last one is a monthly incentive. So I've color-coded these based on how much I like them. I don't really like the monthly one. The performance-based one is kind of like on the middle of the tree, while the milestone-based one is my go-to. So let me go through every single one of these. The performance-based one is where you basically give your employees a percentage of whatever revenue they generate for your agency. So this could be a percentage of revenue generated either for your client or for your actual agency. So if your agency charges, let's say 5% of ROAS above ad spend, give your employee 0.5% of that, or 10% of whatever you are invoicing your client. You can also structure it differently, having like a set dollar amount per additional lead or sale. Doesn't really matter. The reason why I'm not a huge fan of this model is that it can get out of hand pretty quickly. So if an account begins doing super well, you can easily end up paying one of your employees 15K in a single month, which is amazing. Of course, it means that you are earning a lot of money as well, but you're not really able to build a sustainable business paying a payroll of 15K per employee. That's why I really like the milestone-based performance deal internally in my agency. And that means giving my employees a certain bonus once they reach a certain milestone. So if they reach, let's say 30K a month in spend for a certain client with a certain ROAS, they get a 1,500, 2K, 3K bonus. It also feels much more noticeable and is much more motivating for employees to have this huge number in front of them instead of just having a percentage of revenue, because they look at this number, 1,500 bucks, that is a pretty noticeable amount of money for a media buyer, and it allows you to maintain complete control of who gets paid when, because you decide what the actual milestone is and you decide what the bonus is for achieving that milestone. So an example here would be if spending an additional 20K in a certain client's account would earn your agency an additional 3K in performance, pay the media buyer $300 once they do it. Just make sure that you only have one milestone per client, so that you have only one goal that your media buyer is working towards, so that their focus isn't split. Just like a quick tip, always have only one milestone and only one goal for every client in your agency. The last model that I don't really like is the monthly one, which is the same as the milestone-based one, just that you update it every single month. So you set new targets every month. The reason that I don't like this one is that it is a lot of work. So every single month you have to sit down for a couple hours, map out those performance bonuses. I don't really see the point when you could just have a big milestone that everyone is working towards. It's important for you to understand the strategy behind these three models, because you can always come up with your own. The first fundamental aspect that you have to understand is that it has to align with the performance deal that you have with the client. So when you earn more money, your media buyer should earn more money. And when you don't earn more money because the results are poor, your media buyer shouldn't either. As a rule of thumb, you should give your media buyer 10% of whatever revenue they generate for your agency. So as I said, if they earn you an additional 3K, they should get at least $300 for doing so. Lastly, how can we use this pricing model to actually fly business and fly first class completely for free? Let's get into it. And that is by running clients spend through credit cards that give you points. So an example here is either the Amex Platinum or the Chase Sapphire preferred credit cards. It's a whole video in itself on how you set these up, but it is completely doable. So your clients spend, let's say 20K a month, you run all of that spend through your card, you generate 20K in spend on your credit card, you get 20,000 points, sometimes even more based on what kind of multiplier you have on those points. And you can use those points for hotel stays, as I said, to fly first class, to fly business class. This is such a cheat code. This is basically free money that is just in front of you if you set this up correctly. And this doesn't create any liquidity issues for your agency, since you are using credit cards which have a 30-day payback period. So by the time the credit card bill rolls around, you have already invoiced your client and already received the money. There is some risk involved to this in the sense that your client can just refuse to pay you and you're stuck with this credit card bill. But I have a solution here as well, and that is a no risk option. So what I just came up with a couple of weeks ago, I was at Topgolf with one of my agency buddies, and this was like an epiphany for me. You can just invoice the client first and then top up their ad account with that amount. So you invoice the client 5K. Once that money hits your account, you top up their account with 5K. That way you run the spend through the credit cards without actually taking on any risk. This is slightly more difficult to pitch to clients and sell them on this concept, but you can position it as part of the package. Basically, you worry about all the payment and the payment issues, because Meta likes to have payment issues. Every once in a while, they take down one of our ad accounts because of payment issues. So you are the one responsible for that, and basically just the client doesn't have to worry about it. So another perk for them. There is always a way to position this to make it advantageous for the client as well. But this is such a cheat code for living a better life just by utilizing what you already have access to.
I generated over $500,000 in revenue for my digital agency using an offer that I created using the exact framework that I'm going to show you today. We're going to go through market selection, service selection, pricing, and packaging, and I will show you all the pitfalls that you have to avoid that caused me to spend over a year developing this framework. So let's jump straight into it. And of course, the most important part of an offer is the market that you are targeting with that specific offer. That is why it is the bottom part of this pyramid, and that is why you should spend the most time of any of these elements on actually perfecting the market or the niche that you are targeting with your offer. There are a couple of different requirements that I have for niches that I want to work with. I will go through all of them, but first of all, it is, as I said, very important for you to understand that the market is the most important part of your offer, and that is why you should not be watching any of these guru videos with like 100 best niches or the 15 best niches to target in 2025, because that is a guaranteed way to enter a market that is highly competitive, because a ton of other SMA owners just like you will watch that video and begin reaching out to those businesses. So you are making your life more difficult by entering a competitive market for no reason. So I will not provide you with any specific niches, but I will give you the requirements that you should gauge a potential niche by. And the first one is, of course, the ability to pay. Are they able to pay you? That is the most fundamental part of a good market. If your market doesn't have money, then there's no point in targeting it. You have low paying niches, you have medium paying niches, and you have high paying niches. A couple examples of low paying niches are artists, personal trainers, and freelancers. You should avoid these at any cost. These are not worth targeting because they just don't have the money to pay you. So you won't make a big agency out of targeting these. Then you have medium paying niches, which are dropshippers, DIY home services, and low ticket local businesses and other similar ones. And again, why would you target medium paying niches when you have high paying niches? You're just making your job more difficult by targeting a niche that is less than perfect. So again, I would just avoid these. There's no point in selecting them. And then you have high paying niches. These are the daddies of the niches. These are the niches that will allow you to scale to 50K a month and beyond. And that is, first of all, high AOV e-com like supplements or health, anything related to luxury and office. Then you have high ticket B2C services like house washing, roofing, and remodeling. And you have multi-location businesses like clinics, fitness, or cleaning, because these are basically guaranteed to have a fairly high marketing spend because they have a lot of locations that need new clients. So something like this is the type of niche that you should be targeting. If it turns out that the niche that you're thinking of doesn't actually have the money to pay you, just restart the process. Don't go to the next step before you have found a niche that actually has the ability to pay. So if you are able to answer, yes, they have the ability to pay me 7K and above a month. Next one is little or no regulation. You don't want to be in a market that is highly regulated, that often gets their
ad accounts banned because of specific Facebook regulations you just don't want to deal with. It's not worth it when you have niches that don't have those issues. So examples of bad niches due to high regulation is pharmaceuticals, insurance, and alcohol. Avoid these at any cost. And you have automotive, sales, and cosmetics. They are a bit better, but again, like, why would you target a more difficult niche than you need to? And then the easy ones are digital products, entertainment, and local services, and similar. So again, make sure that your niche has little or no regulation. Trust me, you don't want to deal with constant ad account issues and all of that bullshit. If it is a highly regulated niche, go back to the drawing board and start from scratch and go through this process again. So this is a step-by-step checklist that you should be able to go through and answer yes to every single question. So again, if you're able to answer yes, the next requirement is that they are a medium to large size niche. You don't want to be targeting tiny niches because you just won't have enough potential prospects to scale your agency. So an example of a tiny niche could be luxury pet services. There are very few businesses that offer luxury pet services and very few buyers for luxury pet services anywhere in the world. So that is a bad niche, even if they have little regulation and even if they have the ability to pay you a high retainer. A medium size niche could be high-end home improvement, and a large size niche is online education. Both of these are fine. Choose any one of them. The bigger the niche, usually the more competition, but you also have more potential clients. So there is a trade-off for both. So just select one of them. Don't overthink it. And it is perfect if your niche doesn't get spammed by 50 SMMA kids trying to reach them every single day. If you choose something like super common, like dental practices or like roofing services, you will be competing against thousands and thousands of other agencies. But this can easily be solved by actually having a good service. So don't overthink this one. If you have a niche that you are passionate about that actually checks all these boxes, this one you can ignore. But again, ideally, if that doesn't happen, once you have decided which niche you want to target, write that down, and that is going to be the bottom of our pyramid. And the next part is the service that we are actually going to be offering to this market. If you already have a service, then this part of the video is not relevant. I'm going to throw up a timestamp, so just jump over this section to the next one, which is the actual pricing. But if not, listen up. This is super important. Again, a couple of different requirements for the service that you are selecting. I'm not going to give you any examples because I want you to think for yourself and I want you to come to your own conclusions. I'm just going to give you the requirements that you should gauge your service by. And the first one and the most important one is if your service has direct attribution. And what I mean by that is that you are able to very accurately gauge what kind of impact you are having on the business that you are working with. You have no direct attribution services, you have some direct attribution services, and you have easy direct attribution services. So services with no direct attribution is, for example, customer experience or PR. For example, having them shown in newspapers, because there is no way that you can actually track if your service is delivering value to the customer and increasing their revenue. And if you are selling a service that has no direct attribution, it would be super hard to actually sell the service because people usually don't value them as highly as they do something that has direct attribution. And you will be able to charge much lower retainers because people, as I said, just don't value them and won't be able to pay you as much for that service. So don't even consider no direct attribution services. Then you have the one in the middle with some direct attribution, that is, for example, SEO and copywriting, where you could see some immediate significant improvement by fixing up their copywriting or SEO. But again, it's not a direct thing. You can change up the copywriting, they will get more clicks, maybe they will get more conversions, but that doesn't necessarily mean that only your copywriting was the thing that influenced that change. There could be other parts involved, and you won't again be able to exactly pinpoint that you were the one who created that revenue, but it has at least some attribution. So these ones are okay, you could consider them, but I always recommend going for easy direct attribution services like paid ads, CRO, or email marketing, because if you run paid ads, you can set up tracking and you will be able to see exactly how much revenue you generated for that client through your paid ads. It is much easier to sell because, as I said, it has direct attribution. The business owner can see exactly what kind of revenue they are getting by working with you, and you can charge much higher retainers, and you can charge performance because you are able to actually improve how much revenue generated. I'll get back to the pricing models later. If you have found a service that has either some direct attribution or easy direct attribution, the next part is to determine if it is incremental or not. And what I mean by incremental is that it actually has a big impact on the business. For example, a non-incremental service could be brand search ads. So people searching for that specific brand on Google and clicking on the ad and buying something. That is not incremental because people are already searching for that brand. They already know who they are, and you don't actually need the brand search ads to convert that person. They would buy eventually anyway, so you're not actually generating any new revenue for the business, and that's why they are not incremental. A little incremental service could, for example, be SMS marketing because you are potentially generating new sales that they would not have gotten. But to send SMS marketing, you need their phone numbers. So they already have collected their phone numbers in some way, and the person already knows about the business. So it's not a cold prospect. You are just doing retargeting towards the existing database. And again, you're not generating entirely new clients, but you are making the database convert more effectively. And a very incremental service could, for example, be meta ads because you are targeting completely cold audiences who don't know who your product is, introducing completely new people to the funnel, which is highly valuable to the businesses that you are working with. So always keep in mind the incrementality of your service when selecting what you are going to be delivering. And again, if it's not incremental, go back to the drawing board and start over again. It is important that you get every single one of these aspects right, because if you build your business on a flawed base, you are not going to succeed. So make sure that this is on point before you move over to the next requirement, which is the difficulty to deliver. And this one is a bit unexpected. People always expect me to say that the easiest service to deliver is the best one, but I actually look at it the opposite way. The more difficult it is to deliver, the better, because there will be less people actually competing with you and you will be able to charge higher prices. So a service that I would consider way too easy is, for example, social media management. So even if it is direct attribution, which is not, and even if it is incremental, which it's not, I would still not do social media management because it is way too easy. Anyone can go into an Instagram profile and begin posting. You don't need any specific knowledge and you won't be able to charge high retainers for that. A medium difficulty service could, for example, be Google Ads. It requires some specialized knowledge, but again, it's not the most difficult ad platform ever. So you won't be able to charge as much for Google Ads as you will for example, performance-based meta ads. This is one of the most difficult platforms and services to get right because there are so many moving parts involved and you need such a deep fundamental understanding of marketing aspects. But if you get it right, you will be paid handsomely by potential clients. And also an important thing to note to end off this section is that you should select only one. Don't go into the trap of having 5 different services when you are starting out. Select only one of them. So only do performance-based meta ads, or only do Google Ads, or only do copywriting, but don't do anything else, because you want to be the best in the world at what you do, and you can't be the best in the world at 3 things at once. So instead, select one of the services and let's add that to our pyramid. So now we have decided what market we are going to be targeting and what services we are going to be offering to that market. The next is the pricing. How much are we actually going to charge for our service? Let's start by talking about the amount. You have low prices, you have medium prices, and you have high prices. Low prices, I consider anything below 1.5K a month. Medium prices is anywhere between 3 and 5K a month, and high prices is anything 7K a month and up. So low prices, always a no-go. Never charge less than 1.5K a month. You won't build any kind of sustainable business based on that, because you need high prices to make a successful agency. With higher prices, you will be able to deliver a better service. You will have better clients who ask less of you. You will have more to reinvest in your business. You will take more in profit, which will make you, the co-founder, happier. And that's the entire point of building a marketing agency, to take home as much as possible. So never even consider charging low prices for your service. Medium prices you could do later on with a done for you and a do-it-yourself offer, but always start out
charging the highest possible prices because of all the reasons that I just described. It will be the most sustainable way to build a business. And by high prices, I don't mean that you should be overcharging customers. You should still have a huge value to price discrepancy. This is from Alex Hormozi's $100 million offers book. Basically, the value that you should provide should outweigh the price by a factor of 10x. So if you are charging 7K a month, you should earn that business at least 70K a month in profit. So they will be happy to pay you that 7K because you are generating them so much profit. So don't take higher prices for overcharging. You should still undercharge by a lot for the value that you are providing. You just have to increase the value of your service. Next is the model that you will be charging by. You have retainers and you have performance models. Each of them has its own benefits and drawbacks. Let me start with retainers. They are predictable and they are close to the money. And what I mean by close to the money is that the loop from you signing a client to the money hitting your bank account is very short. You sign a client, you send the payment link, they pay, the money hits your bank account pretty immediately, which is amazing for growing your business because then you can immediately reinvest it. You will never have issues with liquidity, but it is difficult to sell because the client trusts that you will deliver a good service, and even if your service is shit, they still have to pay you. So it is a much more difficult sell than performance. So performance has two positives, two negatives. The first one is that it has a higher average invoice and that it is easier to sell. In the beginning, it is a lot easier to charge higher average invoices using performance because people don't have an issue with paying a high invoice if you are delivering a lot of value. Again, going back to this whole price to value discrepancy, you can charge high prices as long as you are delivering a good service. So you are the only one responsible for how much you make using a performance models. This is how we started at my agency. We were doing performance in the beginning and we were able to charge much more than we would have been just by selling a retainer. And as I said, it's easier to sell because there is no risk involved for the client. If you don't deliver, they won't pay you. So as I said, much easier to sell, but it's unpredictable and it is far from the money. So every single month, your invoice to each client will fluctuate based on the results of that month. In months like November, that are notorious for people buying a lot and paid ads doing very well, you will probably get paid a lot more than, for example, in July when people are on vacation. So it fluctuates a lot. And as I said, it's far away from the money. You have to wait at least 30 days to actually get results to then invoice the client, which could create some liquidity issues, but I still recommend starting with the performance model just because it is easier to sell and you can charge higher average invoices in the beginning. At my agency, we were doing performance deals until we hit 50K a month. Now we are transitioning to retainers because it is predictable and it is close to the money, which is more important to us right now. But for you as a beginning agency owner, up to 10K a month, you should only focus on performance because of these two aspects. And usually the standard performance deal is that you take 5% of the revenue that you are generating for your clients. So if you are running ads, you are generating, let's say 100K a month in revenue for them, you should take about 5K of that. It's not too much, not too little. And as I said, you are able to charge 5K a month from fairly small clients if you do your job correctly. So pricing done, put that in our pyramid. And lastly, the packaging of your offer. We have now decided who we are going to be targeting with our offer. We have decided what our service is, and we have decided how we are going to be pricing it. Lastly is the packaging, how we actually present this offer to potential clients. The first and the most important part of packaging your service is that it has to be as targeted as possible. You have to talk directly to the prospect's pain. You have to describe exactly what they are feeling for them to resonate with your offer. Let's say you are targeting roofing companies in the US who have too few high quality leads. One way of positioning your offer and the issue that you solve is that you just help them build a bigger business, which is a bad way to talk to the pain because that is not actually the pain that they are having, that is the result. But it's not like they're going day to day, like thinking, oh, I'm struggling with building a big business. Another angle that could be a bit better is saying, do you have too little revenue? Because that is kind of what they are struggling with. They are not bringing in enough revenue, but the best way in this situation to talk to the pain is to target the fact that they have too few high quality leads, because that is exactly the issue that they are struggling with. And that is exactly what they are concerned with on a day-to-day basis. So talk directly to the prospect's pain with your offer.
introduce some scarcity and urgency. Don't lie, never lie when making an offer. Don't make up imaginary offers or imaginary scarcity and urgency. And every single business owner has limited capacity. You can only take on so many clients with your current setup. So just be honest about that. Say that you have 6 more spots open for February, or that you're only able to onboard 2 new clients next week because you literally can't onboard more than 2 clients a week, or whatever that number is. You get the point. Just be honest about your capacity. And lastly is a guarantee. Guarantees are not something I like, because they create a wrong dynamic where the close is based on you throwing in freebies and them not really trusting you. So by default, never offer guarantees. That is not something you should have, but you can throw in a guarantee if needed. So if they are on the edge, they're kind of like not 100% sold, but it is a client that you want to work with and they could become a big client in the future, throw in a guarantee, but not if you're not confident, and never introduce guarantees after 25K a month. After 25K a month, you should be so confident in your service that you should not need any guarantees. So as I said, the only situation in which you could throw in a guarantee is if you really want to close that client and if they are already on the fence. And the most important part here is just don't overcomplicate it. Don't make your offer too complex. Make it simple to understand, make it straightforward. The most important part of actually keeping clients and signing clients is having the right market with the right service. And if your results are good, you won't have an issue with actually signing clients. So trying to finesse them by using like fake scarcity or fake urgency or using bonuses is not the way to build a sustainable business. It should be built on strong fundamentals, and then you won't need any of these things.
Let's start with the steps. This system is divided into 3 steps. It is a 3-step to call close process. First, we have a discovery call, then we do an audit, then we have a sales call. Super simple. Also, if you want access to the templates and this mirror board, just DM me on Instagram. I will share it with you. Let's start with the first step, the discovery call. What is the goal with this call? Well, it is just to qualify the prospects and to build rapport, then sell the prospect on an audit if everything looks good and if they are qualified to work with you. So no unqualified prospects should ever come past step 1. This meeting should last 30 minutes, and the first step is to start with 30 to 60 seconds of small talk. Then we set the agenda for the entire sales process, not just this call, the entire sales process, so that the prospect knows what to expect on the next steps, so that they are more likely to close because they already know what's coming. It's super simple. You just explain what the different steps are. You explain this 3-step system super simply, 30 seconds. Then you do a short elevator pitch of yourself and your offer and what kind of business you are running. You just say, hey, my name is Alex, I am the CEO at agency we have been working on, and then you provide some tailored examples. Nobody does this in the agency space, providing tailored examples on the first discovery call. Do some research before the call, spend 5 minutes understanding the prospect's business, and then provide the most relevant examples of previous clients who you have worked with. And this will drastically change your chance of booking in an audit afterwards, because they feel that your agency is specialized at working with businesses like their own. Then we qualify based on the BANT framework, B-A-N-T. B stands for budget. Here you can ask a question like, how much do you spend on ads monthly, or how much do you spend on copywriting monthly? Whatever your service is, understand if they can even afford to work with you. Number 2, need. What would happen if you did not solve this ASAP? Understand how badly they need your service. Authority. Are you the only decision maker in the company? You want to understand if the person you are speaking to is the person in charge, or if they have to bring on more people to then be able to close the deal. And lastly, timing. When would you like to get started? Understand what their timelines look like. Understand where in this hiring cycle they are and when they want to get started working with your agency. I have also in this template included some other questions that you could ask about end of year goal revenue, some average margins, LTV, depends on the kind of business that you are talking to. So as you see, super simple. I don't have any set scripts that you should follow in this discovery call. It should be a free-flowing conversation where you just get to know the person, and meanwhile, you just qualify them based on the band framework. The questions that I provided are not a one-size-fits-all solution. You can always come up with your own to qualify them based on these 4 aspects. But point is, if you have done this process and they are qualified on all aspects and you can see yourself working with this person, they're not a douchebag, they're not an asshole, then book in an audit. So you say, hey, this looks great. The next step in this process is for us to just do a free audit of your ad account or your copywriting or your website, again, whatever your service is. And position it as a freebie that you offer to give them some value, but also for your own sake to understand if you truly can help them. And you're not lying. We are not going to be working with clients who we cannot truly help. So the goal of the audit is to, as I said, one, just give the client some value, give them a freebie, but also actually understand by looking into the back end of the business if you can actually help them with your service. Then step 2 is the audit. An audit is just a document where you analyze their ad account or copywriting or website, highlight the good and the bad, and present how you would go about solving the issues presented. The goal of this step is to, as I said, provide the prospect with some value and then make sure that you can actually help. The framework here is the following. We start by getting access to the relevant platforms. This should be done on the first call, so towards the end of the discovery call. And when you are booking in the audit, also get access to the relevant platforms. If the person was not able to give you access, then just send them a quick email after the initial discovery call with a Loom explaining how they can share access. Make it as frictionless as possible for the prospect. Then customize the audit template in the audit database page above. Again, lots of templates available for taking for you. This is the template that we use for audits when auditing the paid ads of potential prospects for my paid ads agency. It looks like this. Facebook, we just analyze their budget and numbers, their ad setup, their ads, testing and scaling. On Google, we analyze the market and we provide some biggest problems and again, a step-by-step solution for the problems provided. So feel free to use this template, but of course, customize it to your own offer because not everyone is going to offer paid ads in their digital agency. Next step of this framework, complete the audit based on the previously created template. This shouldn't take you more than 30 to 45 minutes. Once you get used to it, the first time will probably take you a couple of hours, but once you get used to it, again, I said half an hour max. Record a Loom video walking through the audit. So just like me, I'm recording right now, record a Loom walking through the audit, explaining the different parts. This is what we would do. Go a bit in depth on the most important parts, then send over the Loom and the audit document to the client at least 24 hours before the sales call, ideally 48 plus, so that you are sure that they are able to watch the Loom, but just let them know like, hey, please watch this Loom before our next call. I look forward to hearing from you. And make sure that before you jump on the sales call, which is the third part of this process, that you actually check if they have seen the Loom or not. If not, make sure to reschedule the sales call because the audit is such a fundamental part of the sales process. You cannot afford to have the client not seeing the audit before you jump on the sales call because it increases the conversion rate on the sales call like crazy. So going back to this Miro board, as I said, step number 3, the sales call. The goal here is to sell the prospect in on the fact that you are the absolute best agency in the world at solving their particular issue. The framework here is as follows. Again, we start with 30 to 60 seconds of small talk. Then we go over any questions they have for the audit. Then we present a slide deck. And lastly, we ask for either a yes or a no. The slide deck is also a crucial part of the sales process. This is a nugget that basically nobody knows about, and that is making personalized slide decks for the prospect. So let me show you what the template looks like. It is divided into a couple of different parts. We start off with a personalized main frame where we say partnership to pain point, and then we replace this pain point with whatever it is that they are struggling with. So if they want to scale their accounts, then it is partnership to scale the accounts of business X, Y, and Z. Here you have your own logo and the logo of the potential client. Then you describe their current situation in as much detail and with as many pain points as possible. Then you provide your first USP, unique selling point. And this is super, super important. This unique selling point has to align with the prospect's biggest pain point. So whatever you wrote here, so let's say you wrote partnership to scale the ad accounts of business X, Y, and Z, then your first unique selling point has to be, we are experts at scaling existing ad accounts. Don't lie. If you don't know how to scale ad accounts, don't say this, but you should have a pretty good understanding of how to deliver your offer already if you are watching this video. So provide your first unique selling point, which again should be aligned with the prospect's biggest pain point. Your unique selling point number 2, guess what? It is aligned with the prospect's second biggest pain point. And your unique selling point number 3 is aligned with the prospect's third biggest pain point. So you are hitting the 3 biggest pain points and describing exactly why you are the best agency in the world at solving their particular issue. Then present a couple of case studies. Case study number 1, and again, it is personalized to this specific prospect. Start with the name of the brand. Ideally, this should be a brand that the person already knows about. Second of all, describe what they struggled with. Ideally, it should be the same thing that the prospect is currently struggling with. Number 3, describe how we solved it. Ideally, if it is the steps from the roadmap, which I will present later on. Number 4, what the results were. Again, ideally, if it's the same results that the prospect is looking for. And number 5, how long it took. Ideally, the length of the contract you have with the prospect, so that they again look at this case study and think, this is perfect. They have solved my exact issue for a business exactly like mine previously, and they will be so much more likely to actually convert. And then we double it. We do it again with another business, again aligning this to their specific problems and their specific needs. Next, we jump over to the investment and timeline. Again, put your own logo in here. Present a roadmap. This is the roadmap setup that we use at my agency. You just describe the different steps and at which week they will happen. Again, if you want access to all these templates, including a template of this roadmap, drop me a DM on Instagram. I will send it all over to you in a care package so that you can copy my entire system. After explaining the roadmap a little bit, jump over to the revenue forecast and opportunity cost. So here you need to describe 3 different points. Number 1, how much you forecast they will earn in the next 90 days on their own. Just look at previous years, look at the current year, and you will have a pretty good idea of how much they are on par to make in the next 90 days. Then how much you forecast that they will earn in the next 90 days working with you. So when doing the audit, you have uncovered a ton of potential for improvement. So just forecast how much fixing those issues will bring them in additional revenue and add that in here. And lastly, how much you forecast that they will earn in the next 90 days working with you, including the price of your service, because they will do this math anyway. So why not do this math for them and just give them all the information they need to actually make a decision. And lastly, just include a graph showing the 3 forecasts above as a picture so that they see the curve going up while working with you, giving them something to actually look at, not just numbers. Lastly, the price. Here is the fun part. You present the different price options that you have at your agency. You should ideally present 2 to 3 options. 4 is also fine. 1 is too little. They should always have something to choose between, because then on the next slide, you can ask which price option would you like to go for. You don't ask if they want to go for a price option. You ask which price option they would like to go for, which is a psychological trick to get them to decide immediately without having to even think about it. You ask which, and then they begin actually picking one of them instead of deciding if they want to work with you.
My digital agency has basically 0 client churn because we have perfected our onboarding strategy and we have an amazing understanding of what it actually takes to keep clients happy. And in this video, I am going to show you the exact framework that we use to onboard clients and keep them as clients for as long as possible. This framework consists of 3 parts. We have the pre-onboarding checklist, we have the onboarding or the strategy call, and lastly, the nurturing after the onboarding call. I'll start with the pre-onboarding checklist, setting the right expectations, because this is the most crucial part of the process. If your new client goes into this process with the wrong expectations, not understanding exactly how it is going to work, they are much more likely to churn within the first 2 or 3 months. So make sure that you get this right. First of all, the first thing you do once you get a yes from the client to work with you, no matter if it's on a call, on a phone call, on an email, the first thing you always do is that you create a Slack channel. You want them to commit to having this line of communication with you, and you want to be able to send them messages quickly and get responses back quickly. So what you do is that, as I said, you make a Slack channel and you send them a welcome message. This welcome message should give them clarity on the upcoming process, how the onboarding is going to work, what will happen after the onboarding. You have to give them a quick team introduction and send over a tally form. This tally form is something that is proprietary to our agency. I've never seen any other agencies use it. It is basically just a questionnaire that asks all the questions that you need to know about the client, their KPIs, their AOV, LTV, their numbers, what their expectations are, what kind of sales they're planning on running, how they have been running ads previously. Basically, your goal with this tally form is to download their entire brain and have a clear picture of what is working, what is not working, what their expectations are. Of course, later on throughout the process, we will be asking more questions, but this is an amazing fundamental to have going into the onboarding process. If you want access to my tally form and this entire framework and all of the other links that I will be sharing throughout the video, send me a message on Instagram and I will give you a care package with all the links. Should look something like this. Super simple. Hey client, welcome to the agency. Here are the next steps. Here is the link to the tally. Ask them to fill it out as quickly as possible. Then the goal is to set time-based expectations. So once you begin communicating with the client and before you book in the onboarding call, you have to set time-based expectations for what they have to expect when. This comes in 3 stages. The first is when the onboarding will be complete, then when the first changes will be done, and the third, when they will see the first results. So this is approximately what we say at my agency. After the onboarding, the first changes will be done after 10 days, and then they will see results after 2 weeks. Of course, make this fit your actual timelines and how you actually work with clients. But now you at least have the main framework to follow. Then set results-based expectations. And again, 3 parts to this one. First of all, what kind of immediate results they will see, then give them a 1-month projection, and then give them a 6-month projection. This 6-month projection is also a golden nugget that I've never seen any other agencies use, but I'll get to that later. First of all, immediate results. So when you onboard clients, you should always immediately implement some low-hanging fruits that take little effort, but that give them an immediate result, to give them a quick win, to make sure that they feel that the partnership is worth it and that they chose the correct partner. So for example, in paid ads, we always go into the account and do some immediate changes that we see will improve the results. And immediately within like a day, we boost the ROAS slightly and they're already impressed by the results. So always before you begin doing any analyses or any preliminary work, do some quick low-hanging fruits to, as I said, generate some quick wins. Then do a 1-month projection just to give them some clarity on what kind of results they can expect within 1 month. And lastly, give them a 6-month projection. And you should especially give this if your contract is less than 6 months with this client. Let me explain. By having a 6-month projection and pre-framing the entire partnership as taking at least 6 months, they are much more likely to stick with you for 6 months and beyond, even if they have a 3-month contract, because then you can say you will see these kinds of results by the 6th month. And then when they come to the 3rd month and they have to either renew the contract or cancel with you, they are, as I said, much more likely to renew because they still have this time frame that they are looking forward to. So always set 6-month projections when starting the partnership. This is an easy retention tip that, as I said, no other agencies are using, so use it wisely. And next, we are going to be doing some authority building and adding some social proof. Even though they've said yes, and even though they've maybe signed the contract already, you should never stop selling yourself to the client, because at any point they can look at other agencies. So you have to keep selling yourself to the agency in month 1, month 2, month 10, month 20, even if you work with them for 5 years, still every single day, every single week, every single month, you still have to keep selling yourself to the client. Reaffirm that they made the correct choice. This can be done 2 ways. You can either share some case studies or you can share your reviews. So case studies, we have an entire page on my agency's website, for example. So we just randomly send them a case study every other day, every third day, saying like, hey, this looks relevant for you guys. We just generated these amazing results for this company. Check it out. And also, of course, the reviews. So here are some reviews from our Google page. We also have direct quotes from other partners saying, hey, we just did this for this client. Look at how happy they are. Look forward to getting this up for you guys as well, which makes them super, super excited for the partnership because they get all of this social proof. And lastly, what you have to understand is that an excited client is the best type of client. They are least likely to ask difficult questions and jump to conclusions. And how do you get them excited? Well, by sending case studies and reviews, but also by sending your podcast appearances and your valuable posts. So if you are following any of my other frameworks for example, building your LinkedIn page, you probably already have quite a few LinkedIn posts with some value that you could send them. So again, just say, hey, just wrote this LinkedIn post, would be relevant for you guys to read, send it over. And if they then see that you have 100, 200, 300 likes with tons of comments, tons of people they already know commenting on the post, that is boosting your status in their eyes dramatically, and also podcast appearances. So me and my co-founder, we have been on a couple of podcasts. My co-founder has been on some of Norway's biggest podcasts. So that could also be something that you share. Hey, just did this podcast appearance, talked about some relevant topics. Check it out if you'd like. Next, we have the prep for the actual onboarding call. So this is all preliminary work that we have to get done before we actually begin doing the onboarding. This shouldn't take more than a couple of days. The onboarding call should be super quickly after they actually say yes to working with you. But point is, we want to pre-frame the onboarding and we want to pre-frame ourselves to make it as likely as possible that they will stay for 12, 18, 24 months with us. And then, as I said, lastly, we have to actually prep for the onboarding call. So this is super simple. Just explain what the process will look like. We will start with a strategy and access call. Then we will be doing our preliminary work. Then we will put together a strategy. Then we will do the first changes. And then you will see the desired results. And again, with the amount of days that it will take between each step. This is approximately what it looks like at my agency. Perfect. This is the most important step of the process done. If you nail this, you can fuck up the rest of the onboarding process, but they have so much trust in you and they are so excited to work with you that they will be okay with it and they will begin making excuses for themselves, even if they find the partnership, as I said, kind of weird going forward. But we want to nail that part as well. So let's get into the actual onboarding call. The goal here is to get all the information access you need to deliver your service. So once you jump on the onboarding call, this should be a 45-minute call. You start with a clear introduction and again, giving some clarity on the process. Keep reaffirming what is going to be happening next so that they always know exactly what the next step is, and then set the tone and make sure that they understand that you are the boss. So you are the one who is supposed to be asking questions and you are the one who is supposed to be leading the conversation. So you have to have a preset agenda that you will be following. Send that agenda to the client before the call and actually follow through on the agenda. And if you feel that the client is beginning to take lead and kind of begins pivoting the conversation, go back to the agenda saying, hey, we have this agenda, we have to keep following it. And they will, in 99.9% of cases, be completely okay with that. So as I said, just make sure that they understand that you are the boss and that you are leading the conversation. Then present the strategy. So to get a strategy, you have to ask questions to understand their goals, their wishes, and their requirements. And before the call, make sure that you prepare your high-level initial strategy, just so that they again have some clarity on what you will be doing. You don't have to be super specific in the strategy. It is just a general one. Like let's say you are running paid ads for this car rental company. You say we will be expanding into this market, we will be expanding into this market, we will be launching this campaign type. Just some general pointers. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. This one is malleable and adaptable in the coming weeks anyways. Just give them some certainty in the next steps. And as I said, throughout the call, understand their goals, their wishes, and their requirements, and on the fly, adjust your strategy to those goals, wishes, and requirements. This may sound a bit complex and a bit difficult, but you will get the hang of it after a couple of onboarding calls. The goal here is to make them feel that you already have an amazing understanding of their business, because imagine they jump on the first onboarding call and you begin asking questions, and then you present a strategy that is exactly aligned with their answers. It will make them feel like you have done your homework and that you are, again, the best partner. So again, this takes some practice, but you will get it. It's not a difficult thing to do. And then set the 6-month roadmap. So the 6-month roadmap should include the expectations for the partnership, what kind of results will be generated, what the timeline looks like, and also just the work that will be done. So explain the deliverables that will be done in the 6th month. So let's say first month we expand into this market, then second month we will introduce these campaign types, then third we will begin launching landing pages for new audiences and new interests. You get the point, an overall strategy for what will be done each month. And also before the call, this high-level strategy, and just to give you some pointers for what it should include the technical process. So what exactly you will be doing in the account, as I said, like launching new campaigns, for example. And the second is milestones and deliverables. What kind of milestones you're looking at. So within 2 weeks, we will be seeing these kinds of results. And then the deliverables, actually what you will do. So within the first week, we will do this, this, and this, whatever your service is. That rhymed. Then we have the technical aspect. So once you're done with the introduction and the strategy, we have to make sure that the technical aspect is all ready to go. So first of all, make sure that they have signed the contract. If they haven't, go through the contract with them on this call and get them to sign it. And then make sure that you have access to everything that you need access to. So that is, for example, the platforms and the media library. This is what the access checklist looks like at our agency. We need to get access to Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, Google Tag Manager, Shopify, Google Analytics, their CRM, their attribution platform. Just think through this, make sure that you have everything that you need to work with the client, and make sure that it's all given on this call, so that when you jump off, you are ready to do your job and you don't have to keep coming back to the client like, hey, give me this access, give me that access, tell me this information. Everything should be in this onboarding call, plus also the tally that we sent earlier. Lastly, the nurturing. So now we have set the expectations, we have actually conducted the onboarding call, we have gotten all the information that we need. Lastly, we need to keep nurturing the client, because the first 7 days of the partnership are the most crucial 7 days of the partnership. And as it, if you mess this up, you are very, very likely to churn the client. And a nice way to keep them excited and to keep them happy is to keep nurturing them for 7 days after the onboarding call. So first thing you can do is to just share quick wins. And the goal here is to just make them feel that stuff is happening. You want them to feel a certainty in the fact that you are putting in work, because we are working on performance and we are working based on results, but humans are irrational beings. And if they don't see a progress being made, even if results are being generated, they are still unhappy. So just send quick wins, which could be low-hanging fruits. For example, hey, we found this old campaign type in your account. We will turn that off. That will give us an immediate 20% boost in ROAS. For example, whatever, give them some quick low-hanging fruits that you find. Then when you do your preliminary work, make sure to share that with them. So at my agency, we do different kinds of analyses before we launch the ads. So we do a product analysis, we do a market analysis, and a competitors analysis. So we make sure to share those analyses with the client when they are done. And lastly, just the preliminary work. So if you are doing any kind of access work, any kind of tag manager setup, tracking setup, stuff like that, share that with the client. Ideally, the first 7 days, you should be sending 2 to 3 updates every single day of stuff happening. So this is an example of a quick win that I share with all new clients. I just mentioned that we have a rockstar graphic designer and I share his best work. So if they click on that, they're like, damn, these guys know what they're doing. They have an amazing graphic designer on board, because we do. So I share that. and it makes them feel that stuff is happening. Next, we send daily updates. So the daily updates should be by Slack, because we set up a Slack channel in the first step, and this should be sent every day in the first week. So here's an example of a daily update that I sent to one of our clients recently, just updating him, hey, handover call has been booked, we're working on getting strategy finished, we're looking into blot out. After the call with this person, we're ready to go, just some screenshots of the strategy being developed. And this goes a long way, as I said, for keeping the client happy. And lastly, we also send weekly looms. So every single Friday, I record a loom for our new clients. So within the first month, we always send weekly looms, as I said, every single Friday. And in this loom, we go over the status, we go over the plan, and we go over the needs. So status, what has been done, and just some quick wins from that week. That can be just an aggregation of the other wins that you have sent. Then we present a plan, what is going to be happening in the next week. And lastly, needs. So if there is something you need from the client, which ideally shouldn't be anything because you got everything you needed on the onboarding call, but still, like, if there's something you need from them, bring that up on the weekly loom, and just other sources. So if you are, for example, waiting for some tracking guide to set up the tracking, just let them know, like, hey, we are still waiting on this thing. It's not in our hands, but we will get it done with him as quickly as possible, for example. And just looks like this, super simple Notion page. I go through it, takes me like 4 or 5 minutes to explain it, and I send it over to the client.
Then in this video, I am going to show you exactly how you can deliver amazing client results for your own clients. As you can see, we have a lot to go through. This is going to be a value-packed video. You're going to get all of the templates that I use in my own agency. But before we get into any of the technical stuff, I need you to understand what is actually important in delivering amazing client results, namely the fundamental principles you have to keep in mind. And that is the split between the actual media buying you are doing in the account, the technical stuff, and the content production, what you are actually putting in the ads. It's two completely different fields. They both play into amazing client results, and the split is as follows. As you can probably already see, media buying only accounts for 20% of the results in the client accounts, and the content production is 80%. Why is this happening? Well, because the Meta AI is becoming so good that you can basically dump stuff into the ads manager, just let Meta do its thing, and as long as you have amazing content that you actually provide Meta, you will be successful. So if you have good content but shit media buying, you will be successful. But if you have amazing media buying and shit content, you will not succeed in eCom paid ads. And this pisses me off when I on YouTube search up SMMA service delivery. Every single video out there is on the technical media buying aspects, which is such a small part of actually delivering results. Just look it up yourself, search up SMMA service delivery on YouTube and see what the people are teaching. Basically, nobody is talking about the content production. It's just like a small side note they maybe have at the end of their video. So let's jump into it. I will teach you exactly how to produce amazing content for your paid ads. And by content, I mean the videos, the still images, and the ad copy. So let's go through some fundamental principles, what you have to keep in mind when you are producing content for your clients. The first and the most important thing is volume. In creative development, volume is everything. I recommend starting by producing 3 unique concepts with 3 variations each per client every single week. So this is what one unique concept looks like. This is an ad we made for a client just now recently for 4th of July. This is one concept with 3 different variations. So it's the exact same ad, but it just looks slightly different to test a couple different variations of the same idea. So we would produce 3 batches like this one for every single client every single week. And with time, you should of course scale this up based on the signals you see in the account. If you see that the account is quickly burning through content, it's quickly fatiguing, then it makes sense to ramp that up. But 3 unique concepts with 3 variations per week is a good place to start. Next fundamental principle is speed. You want a weekly creative development cadence. So on Monday, you want to be launching new ads, then you give them 4 to 5 days to actually run and collect data. And then on Thursday or Friday, depends on when you have enough data, you conclude the test and initiate new creatives. Then throughout the weekend, you develop the new creatives, then you launch them on Monday, and the cycle continues. You don't want to be launching new ads every second week or every month. You want to be launching ads every single week. This will give you such a huge advantage over other agencies and will immediately skyrocket the results you deliver for clients. It is that simple, just going back to the basics, delivering a lot of content and delivering it quickly. Next, you want to build your creative development system as a factory. You want it to look like an assembly line. Imagine an assembly line for cars where everything is standardized. Each piece of content goes through a certain set of steps. You don't want to wing it from week to week, just kind of sitting down and doing whatever. You want to have a super standardized process for how you actually analyze data, how you select winners, and how you develop new ads. So have proper systems, have defined ownership, which means that every single person in the system should know exactly what they own in the system, and you have to have predictable development. Next, we have this whole concept of angles versus concepts. No pun intended. Every single ad has two fundamental main attributes. That's the angle and that's the concept of the ad. The angle is the most fundamental part of an ad, and it is how you present why someone should buy the product. So let's say you have a product that aims at giving older people better health. The angle could be look younger, it could be feel healthier, it could be play with your grandchildren. There are tons of angles you can use to promote such a product, and as I said, this is the most fundamental, the most basic part of an ad, and this is the first thing you want to nail in your ads. If you have an amazing angle, everything else can be pretty shitty, but if you hit the right angle, you will be successful with your paid ads. And as I said, when you nail the angle, the rest becomes easy. Then you have the concept, and the concept is basically just how you present the angle. I have an entire cheat sheet for these concepts. Let me show you. You have us versus them ads. So let's say you have defined an angle which is look healthier. You then do an us versus them ad comparing yourself to competitors. You have before and after ads, super simple, showing what before having the product looks like versus what life looks like after buying the product. Then you have listicles, just giving tons of like bullet points why someone should buy the product. You have USP callouts. Just use this cheat sheet. I'm not going to go through every single ad, but super easy way to find new concepts. So these are the fundamentals. Let's jump into how you actually develop the content. And the first part is to do creative analysis. So before you actually begin producing anything, you want to be making data-backed decisions. So you want the data to know exactly what to test and have some kind of hypothesis for why you are testing that specific thing. So what is creative analysis specifically? It is the process of defining which angles and which concepts you want to be testing, which should be based on both data and your experience. So there are two types of creative analysis. One you do when you onboard new clients. You only do it once to have a clear understanding of this client's product, and then you want to be doing creative analysis every single week to actually create iterations and create net new concepts. So let me show you the onboarding creative strategy one pager we use at my agency. It looks like this. May look a bit complicated right now, but once you actually get into it, it's not that difficult. Super simple. You just go through and fill out these bullet points. You fill out about the brand, how is the product made, the details of the offer, the product details, every single thing you need to understand about this product to then be able to create ads. This should take you like max 30 minutes to fill out once you onboard new clients. But as I said, this will be immensely valuable when you actually go to develop the ads. Then you have the weekly creative analysis. This one is even simpler. It's formatted as this kind of table. So you add every single client you have down here. Then you just go into their ad accounts. You look at what is working. You add notes, you add learnings, you decide which iterations you want to work on. You define which losers you have in the account. So stuff you don't want to continue testing and stuff you want to turn off in the ad account. Then you create net new briefing ideas and add the average KPIs. So super simple, just fill this out every single week on Monday. and create new content based on that. Let's keep rolling. Next is how you actually produce the static content. So you have two different types of content. You have just image ads and then you have video ads. So how do you produce the image ads? Again, there are two ways of developing image ads, and this goes for both video as well, which is net new concepts and iterations. So net new concepts are completely new ideas that have not been tested in the account before. It's completely new stuff, while iterations is when you just take something that is already working, making slight tweaks and launching that. Let's start with the net new stuff. This should be based on your previously completed onboarding one-pager. So this thing, you go in, you analyze the offer, you analyze the product, and you just have to be creative and come up with new unique ideas for how to actually position the product. The angles, remember, the most fundamental part of the ad is the angle. I recommend using Figma for designing those ads. With time, you will have a graphic designer, a copywriter, all of these roles the way I have in my agency now. But for now, you will be the one making the ads. So how do you actually produce those ads? Well, when you first have an idea, so let's say you have defined an angle and a concept, don't overthink it. Just boot up Figma and begin producing the angles with the concepts you have defined. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to be a professional graphic designer to make this work. In most cases, ugly ads actually perform better. And remember, the only way you'll get better is by doing. So don't spend hours on YouTube learning about Figma and learning about like graphic design principles. Just get to it, boot up Figma, begin producing ads. You already have those templates that I've provided you for the different concepts, so just copy those. Remember to use the client's font and colors to keep it all cohesive, and to use the client's brand guidelines. And the format you want to be using here is 1080 by 1920, but keep the content in a 4 to 5 safe zones. Remember, on some placements, Meta will crop in the ads from the top and the bottom. So you want to make sure that all of the actual content is within a 4 by 5 frame within the 1080 by 1920 ad, so that everything fits nicely, so that it doesn't crop any text or any of the important information. So just use safe zones in Figma. Next, we have the iterations, and this should be about 70 to 80% of the content production in your accounts. You want to always first focus on just taking what's working and doing more of that, because you don't need to test net new concepts when you already have a proven concept. The way you do this is based on your creative analysis. So this document we've put together, you go through, you do this analysis, and it will pretty quickly become clear what is working, what is not. So you take what is working, and based on that, you create iterations with different concepts. So you take the winning angle, let's say it is look healthier or play with your grandchildren, and then you try a new concept with that exact same angle. So if us versus them worked, try a before and after ad. Then you can also find new ways to present the winning angle in the same concept. So if you don't have any more concepts to test, use the same angle, use the same concept, but use different wording, use different USPs, or use a different product image or a completely different product. So if the client has several products that hit the same ICP, you can test different products through the winning angle and through the winning concept. The production here, again, super simple. Just duplicate the ad you're making iterations of in Figma and do the changes. If it's the concept, change the concept. If it's just a wording change, change the wording. With time, you also want to build up a template library. So every time you produce a new concept, add it to a separate Figma file. With time, you will have a huge library that you can just later copy from and change the text or the font or the colors on to create new ads. Remember, this is not supposed to be exclusive to any specific client. So you don't want to have a library for every single client. Just have a big library of all of the concepts you have created, and then you can use them for all of your other clients and all of your new clients. This will streamline the process immensely. Next, we have the video production. Flying through here, the first fundamentals you have to understand in video production is that this is much more resource intensive to produce than static images, but usually has a higher hit rate. So a bigger percentage of your creatives will actually be winners. But remember, for some clients, video doesn't work at all. So if you have tested videos for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's still not working, maybe this is just a client where video doesn't work. So just focus 100% of your time on the static production. We have a couple different types of videos. The first one is UGC videos. This is also a great way to upsell clients as well. We charge $600 per video in my agency. So on top of the retainer and on top of the performance we are already charging, we also charge $600 per video. And the way this works is that you find a creator, someone willing to film the video, you create a brief, they film it, you receive the content, you edit the content, and then you actually launch it in Facebook. So this is what a UGC video looks like. This is a video we just produced for one of our clients.
Birdie boss being sick.
So as you can see, super simple. We created a brief. We told this person exactly what to say. We sent them the product, and then they ended up filming, and we did all of the editing with the captions, the cuts, the animations, all of that good stuff. The next type of video we have is an AI UGC video. So it uses B-roll, but it uses AI voiceover. So you don't actually have to go through this whole process of developing UGC videos, finding creators, all of that stuff. If you already have B-roll, you just create AI voiceover using 11 Labs, add that over, and suddenly you have a video. So the way this works is that you create the brief, you produce the content with AI voiceover and stock footage, then edit it again. This is what we have created for Birdie Boss, the same client, and this is then with AI voiceover.
Calling. And this season demands more than just showing up. It's time to bring your A game, starting with gear that stands out.
As you can see, we received tons of content from the client, different B-roll. So we just went through, created some AI voiceover, and boom, we have a video developed. And lastly, and the easiest to produce video is just a text overlay video. So you just add some text on top of the B-roll of the product. This takes the least time, but also has the lowest hit rate because it's the easiest to produce. So it looks something like this. You just have text on top, and then you have some music playing in the background, some USB callouts. Super simple to produce and allows you to produce much more content, but as I said, usually has a slightly lower hit rate than the other types of videos. Then we have completely net new ideas. How do you actually make up net new ideas and how do you produce those? It's the same as with statics. Generate completely new ideas from the onboarding one-pager. This one-pager is super, super important, so make sure that you are thorough with it when you are filling it out, when the client is being onboarded. Then use CapCut to edit and add text. Easiest program out there. And again, use 1920 by 1080, keeping the text and the main content within the 4:5 safe zone. So exactly the same as with the static images. Lastly, iterations. And again, it's the same as with the statics. It's based on your weekly analysis. So duplicate the existing CapCut projects you have and do the changes. It could be a wording change, it could be a music change, it could be a hook change, depending on what kind of iteration you are doing. I have this cheat sheet for iterations, so take a screenshot and use this when you are creating iterations for your videos. You can change the hook text, you can change the hook visual, you can change the voiceover, like use another voice, for example. You can add winning hooks from other ads. You get the point. I'm not going to go through this entire list, but just use this sheet, select one of them, and create iterations in this way. This is the way we produce content at my agency for our client that again has allowed us to scale up to $700,000 to $800,000 a month in spend managed by the client. How do we actually go about distributing it? So the media buying, the less important part, but still you should have a good grasp of how you actually do the technical stuff in the ads manager to make sure that the content is being used as effectively as possible. So let's start with the fundamentals with the account structure. So on Meta, it looks like this. You have an ads manager, which is basically just the account you are running the ads from. Then you have campaigns. Under the campaigns, you have different ad sets, which is just basically like a folder of different ads. And within those ad sets, you have a basically unlimited amount of ads. An important distinction to make here is that you have two different types of budget optimization. So you can set the budget on the campaign level, and then Meta will itself distribute the budget to the different ad sets. This is called a CBO. Or you can give each ad set a specific budget, and then it's gonna automatically distribute the budget to the different ads, which is called an ABO. I'm gonna get into which one you should use for the different use cases in a second, but just keep that in mind. There are two different ways of actually setting the budget on Meta, a CBO and an ABO. So how do we go about testing? I'm first gonna explain the testing, then the scaling, then the metrics and KPIs you should be looking at. So the testing stuff. First of all, again, some fundamental principles. I really want you to understand the fundamental principles behind running ads, because if you understand those, the rest really becomes irrelevant, because it's all just a logical chain you have to understand. So important for us to go through these fundamental principles. The first one is that in testing, every ad should get a set budget. So use ABO. This is fundamentally about risk management. Every new test you launch is a risk, and you want to get as much data as possible from every risk, because the ad could be a loser, and if it doesn't generate any sales, you have lost money. So in that sense, every single new test you run in your ad manager is a risk. And if you test in a CBO, meaning you set the budget on the campaign level, Meta will usually give the top 1 to 2 ad sets about 90% of the budget. So this way you're not learning anything about the other ads. You might have an amazing ad that has a great watch time, that has a great CTR, that has a great CPM, but it has a weak hook, so it has a low hook rate. In this scenario, Meta will give this ad basically 0 spend because the hook rate is low, but just changing the hook on this ad would give you a new winner. So by actually forcing Meta to spend money on every single ad, you're able to see these patterns, and an ad that is maybe a loser in the first round of testing could become a winner by doing a simple change. So by using ABO and forcing Meta to actually spend money on the different ads, you will get much more data for the same amount of dollars spent on the test. So use ABO for testing. Remember that performance varies based on time of week, day of week, recent changes in the financial markets. There are like thousands, maybe even millions of different things that could affect how your ads are performing. So what didn't work today might work in 3 months. So I recommend that in about 3 months, go back, look at stuff that didn't work then, but that you still believe in, and retest it. It's that easy. You don't have to produce new ads. You can just retest what didn't work previously, and sometimes you will find winners that way, because as I said, what didn't work now might work in the future. Next, do not test in dynamic creative. So you want complete control over what Meta shows. So a dynamic creative is where Meta can adjust how the ad looks to every single person, and it doesn't really actually give you a test, because Meta is personalizing the ad to every single person. So it's showing different stuff to every single person. So you're not actually testing a specific ad, you're testing thousands of different elements, and you don't want to do that. So never use dynamic creatives. Always just give Meta the headlines, the descriptions, the product images, all that stuff, but don't allow it to do these automatic changes. Next, always exclude warm audiences, so page view and purchases from prospecting testing. So when you are testing prospecting audiences, which are cold audiences, people who have not heard about your brand before, make sure to exclude people who have been on your page and who have purchased previously, because if you have those people in your prospecting testing, the data will be diluted, because those people already know about your brand and will convert at a higher level than completely cold audiences. So make sure that when you are testing prospecting, you are testing prospecting, and when you are testing retargeting, you are testing retargeting. So in retargeting, exclude cold audiences and only target those people that have already been on the page and that have already purchased the product previously. So again, a super fundamental part of running ads. You have two different types of audiences: people who have not seen your product before and people who have. Next, use one testing campaign. So you only want to have one campaign for testing, and then I'll get into the scaling in a second, but when you find winners, you put them in a separate scaling campaign. And the higher the budget, the more testing you have to do. As I mentioned previously with the creative development, start with 3 unique concepts with 3 variations per week. And then when you are ramping up the spend, also ramp up the content production. It will become pretty clear in the account if your content volume is lacking and if you are burning through the content quicker than you're able to produce it. Lastly, use broad targeting. Like a year and a half ago, using interest was the go-to way to run ads on Meta, setting like specific interests, people interested in dogs, people who have kids, stuff like that. Now broad is the way to go because the Meta AI has become so good that it's going to be much better than you at finding the winning audiences. So just use broad targeting and allow Meta to find those winning audiences itself. I've already kind of touched in on this, but prospecting versus remarketing, always start by building your prospecting audience. So you want to have a big audience of people that have not seen your product that you have then forced onto your website. And once you have spent above 10K USD in the account, you can begin looking at remarketing to that audience. So you just begin hitting those same people with ads over and over again until they actually end up buying. Now, how do we structure the testing in the account, like completely technically? Well, as I said, we want to have one testing campaign, and under there for each unique concept, we want to have a separate ad set. So if you produce 3 unique concepts with 3 ad variations per week, you want to have 3 new ad sets that are being launched in this testing campaign every single week. So you have the unique concept as an ad set, and then the 3 different variations as ads in that specific ad set. Again, remember to use A, B, O when testing, and your budget here should depend on your target CPA. So let's say you want to be getting purchases at $40 per purchase. Let's say it's a $120 product. You want a 3x ROAS, which means that you should be getting purchases at $40. Your budget should then be 1 times your target CPA per day. So if your target CPA is $40, then the daily ad budget should also be $40 for every single one of these ad sets. Then how do we actually determine if an ad is a winner or a loser? We've launched it, it's used some money. How do we determine if it moves on to the scaling or if it is being left behind? Well, it's very simple. If it spends 3 times the CPA with no purchases, it is a loser. So in this case, if the target CPA is $40, the ad has spent $120 and gotten 0 purchases, it is a loser. You turn it off and you don't move it to scaling. Well, if it has gotten purchases and it keeps getting purchases at those $40, it is a winner and you can move it over to the scaling, which we are getting into now. So again, some fundamental principles here. First of all, never change evergreen ads with social proof. So when you are running ads on Meta, people will like those ads, they will comment on those ads, they will share those ads, which will generate social proof on those ads. So when you are scrolling in your Facebook algorithm, you see that every single post has, I don't know, 10 likes, 100 likes, 1,000 likes. That is called social proof, which boosts the performance of the ad. And doing any changes to the ad, changing the copy or changing the image, will completely reset that social proof. It will wipe it and it will start from 0, which will most likely kill the ad. Social proof is very important. So if you need to make changes to an ad, let's say the client changed the price of something, launch a new ad and slowly phase it in, but never do hard changes on existing ads. The idea in scaling is to let winners compete in a sort of battle royale in a CBO. So you give the campaign a specific budget, you dump all the winning ads in this campaign, and then Meta will distribute the budget to the winning ads, and in that way you'll get the most bang for your buck. Once you've actually defined that an ad is a winner, you then want Meta to kind of take over the budget distribution and begin spreading the budget to the ads that are actually performing the best. With time, ads die out. Remember this, when you find a winning ad, it's not going to be a winning ad for 2 or 3 years. Sometimes it's a winning ad for 2 weeks, sometimes 2 months, but it will eventually die out. And once they begin underperforming for 7 days, it has died out. So just turn it off and keep testing new ads. So what is the structure of the scaling campaign? Well, again, just have one scaling campaign. You don't want to have a ton of scaling campaigns. This should be a CBO where the budget is defined on the campaign level. And remember to use a separate scaling campaign for prospecting and remarketing. So I just said that you should have only one campaign, but one scaling campaign for prospecting and one scaling campaign for remarketing. And again, remember to exclude warm audiences from prospecting. So if you have a scaling prospecting campaign, remember to exclude people who have already been on your page and already purchased your products. The way we structure this is that we have what we call winner stacks. So each ad set is a winner stack, and in there you put your winner ads up to 10 ads. Once you have more than 10 ads in an ad set, the algorithm gets a little bit confused. It's too many ads for it to handle, and it begins distributing the budget poorly. So have one winner stack, fill it up with 10 winner ads. And if you have more winner ads, create a new winner stack and have a new ad set with then more ads. Next, the budget scaling. So how do you actually go about increasing the budget and spending more money on the winning ads? Well, every 3 days that you have stable results, so let's say the scaling campaign is running at $200 a day, it is delivering stable results, you are getting the CPA you want, then after 3 days you can bump the budgets by 20%, which in this case, if it's spending $200 a month, would be $40, so you would bump it up to $240. Then again in 3 days, if it's still performing well, if it's still getting the desired CPA or the desired ROAS, you bump it again by 20%, which would give you $288, I think, if my math is correct, and then you just keep bumping it until the results begin dying out. There are also some other techniques for scaling. The first one is what I call a dupe scale. So you basically just duplicate the exact same ad set and give it a 3 times higher or 3 times lower budget. And this is a pretty complicated process, but point is that this unlocks new pockets. So the way Meta works is that it selects a small part of your audience and begins showing ads to that same small pocket of your audience, which could be like women aged 50 to 55 in the Maryland area and that have kids that are married, like a super small little pocket. And it's not really going to go outside of that pocket once it has found a winning pocket. So to force it to actually go out there and begin looking for new winning audiences, you can dupe scale your ads. So you just duplicate the ad set, give it either a 3 times higher or a 3 times lower budget, and allow it in that way to go out and find new pockets and unlock new audiences. You can also duplicate the winner stack to an ASC plus campaign. So it's a different campaign type. You launch that Advantage Shopping Campaign Plus, you create that, you just put all the winner stacks in there and see how that performs. Then you can also test audiences. So I've told you to run broad so far, but if you have found winning ads, you can also test your way with new audiences. So actually telling Meta, okay, I want to target women, or I want to target men, I want to target dog lovers, I want to target grandmothers, stuff like that, just running that as a test. And lastly, testing cost caps. So this is a feature Meta has where you tell Meta, I don't want to spend more than, let's say, $15 to get a purchase. That is what's called a cost cap. And if Meta believes that it's not able to reach that CPA, it's just not going to bid. So it makes the spend a lot more volatile, but it also caps your results and basically ensures that you're not going to get more expensive purchases than what you are looking for. So it has both downsides and upsides, but it is worth testing as a way to scale the account. So the fundamental strategy here is to find winning ads and then test them through every possible Meta feature, which are these 4 main things. Lots of talking from my side. Let's get into the last part here, which is the metrics and the KPIs. So targets. How do you actually know what your target CPA is? Well, you have to have a clear target KPI with the client. So during the onboarding process, figure out exactly which kinds of numbers your client is aiming at. It could be a certain CPA, a ROAS, marketing efficiency ratio, which is MER. There are tons of different KPIs you can look at. It really depends on your client and what kind of numbers they are looking for in their business. So just have an open conversation about KPIs and set up a structure where you can scale infinitely as long as you hit the KPI. So the way it works in our agency is that we have an uncapped budget with our clients. We can spend $1 million a month on their Meta ads if we wanted to, as long as we hit the KPI. So as long as we keep it above, let's say, a 3.5 ROAS, and we can spend as much as we want on the ads, which is perfect for us because we have some performance incentives based on spend. So the more we spend, the more we earn, the more the client earns. Amazing setup. If you want to learn more about making offers, I have a video on that on my channel. In terms of scaling, with time, this KPI should be adjusted because the more money you spend, the lower the expected KPI is. So getting a 4x ROAS at 30K a month in spend is reasonable, but not when you get to, let's say, 300K a month because of this concept of scaling. So this is a pretty jagged explanation by me, but point is, this is the audience you reach by spending 30K a month, so the white bubble you have here, while the gray bubble is the audience you reach by spending 300K a month. So the way it works is that when you scale, you begin hitting a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger audience. You have more customers in that bigger audience, but you also have more irrelevant people. So let's say here, 1 in 10 people who see the ad actually ends up buying. That's not really like proper numbers, but let's just use it as a mental example. When you are spending 30K a month, 1 out of 10 people will end up buying your product. While when you begin scaling, you, as I said, begin hitting more and more irrelevant audiences. So it goes up to 1 of 50, and then 1 of 20, then 1 of 40, then 1 of 80, then 1 of 100. Yes, you begin hitting more customers, so your overall revenue is growing, but you have to show the ad to more people to find the next customer. So your KPI expectations should also go down, because Meta is a CPM platform. You pay for every single view, not for every single click. So the more people you show the ad to, the more money you will spend on Meta ads, and the higher your CPA will get. So just keep that in mind. When you begin scaling, you should have an honest conversation with your client about basically decreasing the KPI expectations. Lastly, attribution. Meta is known for over-reporting the results in the account. So you could have, for example, 150 purchases reported by Meta, but if you go into Shopify, you're only going to have like 100. So make sure to double check numbers with the client's backend weekly. You should get access to their WooCommerce or their Shopify account during the onboarding. Again, I have a whole video on onboarding if you want to check it out and figure out how to do the onboarding properly. And then just every week, make sure to double check the numbers, that you're not scaling when in reality they're getting, let's say, 50% less purchases than what you are expecting.
What is up, fellow agency owners? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I want to share my Google Ads search campaign setup process that helps me generate about $300,000 of revenue for the clients in my agency every single month through Google Ads alone. So let's just jump straight into it. First of all, what is a search campaign in Google Ads? Well, Google Ads is the platform where you run ads on the different apps offered by Google, like Gmail, like Chrome, like YouTube, all of the apps owned by Google. And a search ad is the ad that pops up first when you search something on Google Chrome. So when you search, you get a list of results, and usually the first 2 or 3 results are paid for, and if you click on them, Google will get paid by the advertiser actually placing the ad. When to use Google search ads is pretty simple. If you are in a niche where people are actually searching for the service or product that you are offering, or that your client is offering who you are running the ads for, and if people are able to interact with that business online, like leaving a lead form, like buying something, like leaving their email, whatever, if they are able to interact with the business, then Google search ads are a good option for you. Here is a graphical representation using my high-tech structuring software. As you can see here, the first and the biggest block is your actual Google Ads account. Under this account, you will be making the different campaigns, the different ad groups, and into those ad groups you will be adding keywords and ads. So the first step is to create a campaign, and you have different campaign types like search, like shopping, like PMAX. In this video, we will only be focusing on search because that is the most important campaign type on Google. And under each Google Ads search campaign, you will find different ad groups. So different ad groups are just like folders of different keywords and different ads. So usually you divide it based on topic. We will get back to this a bit later, how you structure it exactly. But the point is, under one ad group, you will have a lot of different keywords and several ads. And every time someone types those keywords and your ad is eligible to show, it will be shown to the people who are searching for that keyword. So there is a direct connection between the keyword and the actual ad being shown. So just remember this, it's super simple. You have your Google Ads account. In there, you have different campaigns. Under each campaign, you have different ad groups, and in each ad group, you have keywords and you have different ads. Welcome to your Google Ads dashboard. Once you log in, it will look something like this. Maybe you are gonna see the old view, which is being phased out right now. If you do, go up to this button, click Appearance, and click Use the New View. I honestly prefer the old view, but Google Ads is phasing it out, so soon you won't really have an option. So just get used to this one, because this is the only view we are gonna have in not so long. So the first step towards setting up a successful Google Ads search campaign is to find the keywords that the campaign will actually, or the ads will actually be ranking for. And to do that, Google Ads has a built-in tool, and I like to use Notion to structure everything on paper before I actually begin setting it up in Google Ads. So let's just jump straight into Notion real quick. My Notion setup looks something like this. In here, I divide the different campaigns, the different ad groups, the different ads, and the keywords into their own bullet points. If you remember, this is exactly how Google Ads structures it inside of the ad account as well. So first of all, we have the different campaign types, and how you divide those campaigns is based on the product or based on the service. If you have different products or if you have different services, make separate campaigns for them. If you have just one product or just one service, make a single campaign. You don't need a lot of campaigns. More campaigns doesn't mean a better setup. Actually, usually it is the opposite. First of all, campaign A with product 1 or service 1. Under here, you have to begin creating ad groups. And again, this depends on what type of service or what type of products you are offering. In those different ad groups, you have to begin dissecting the main product or the main service into different sub-services or different sub-products. If you are, for example, running ads for a car rental service, then you could have different ad groups for the different locations. If you are running ads for an e-commerce store, then you could have different ad groups for different product categories or for different specific products, depending on how many products the store actually has. This one is again a bit up to you how you want to structure it, but let's use an e-commerce pet store as an example of who we are going to be setting the ads up for. So first of all, what I would do is have a campaign for dogs. For example, the biggest category, dog things, whatever it is, dog products, dog toys. And under here, I would have different ad groups for different product categories like dog food, dog treats, dog toys, whatever it is. Begin dividing it this way and create the structure on paper as I have done here, so that you know what you are going to be setting up once you actually get into this account. Once you have created the ad group, we have to find the keywords that this ad group will be ranking for and create the actual ads, which I usually like to make 2 of. And just to start off with some testing, test ad 1 versus ad 2 and see which one actually performs the best. So let's start with the keyword research. As I mentioned, Google already has a tool for that. All you have to do is just click on this tools icon on the left, and you will automatically be opened to the keyword planner. In here, you click discover new keywords, and here you have to begin typing keywords that you think are relevant, and then Google will begin giving you more relevant keywords. So first of all, choose your language. Let's do English, and choose your location, whatever you are going to be running the ads. I'm from Norway, so Norway is automatically selected, but let's do the United States. Click target, remove Norway. This way we are only targeting the United States, and you can see we have 290 million people who we could potentially reach. Click save, and here we have to begin, as I said, typing in things that we think are relevant. So let's start with dog treats. Let's start dog treats, treats for dogs, goodies for dogs, candy for dogs, stuff like this. In here, you can add a total of 10 keywords. So I usually like to fill it up with all of the relevant keywords that I can imagine, but for the sake of time, let's just click get results with those 4. And here we will see how many searches per month each keyword is getting, and Google will, as I said, recommend other keywords that you can be using. So as we can see, dog treat is getting 1,000 to 10,000 monthly searches. Yes, the range is pretty big, but you still get a pretty good feel of how the keyword is actually performing in Google Ads. So I just begin going through this list and adding the keywords that I think are relevant to my list. So let's start with dog treat. We copy that, go back into Notion under keywords. We paste that in, go into the next line, then let's do candy for dogs, and just begin going through this entire list until you have used up all of the relevant keywords and until the average monthly searches begin dropping to like 100 to 1,000, because at that point, there is just no point in spending more time adding more keywords. You can also filter based on the average monthly searches, so you will get the keywords with the most amount of monthly searches on the top. And as I said, just go through it, begin copying them and paste them into your document. Once you have done this for all of the campaigns and all of the ad groups, you are finally ready to begin setting up the actual campaign. To do that, we go back into Google Ads, click on campaigns. Here on the left, again, click on campaigns and click on this blue plus icon. In here, we click new campaign, wait for it to load and choose which thing we are going to be targeting. In 99.9% of cases, it is either sales or leads. So if you are running ads for an e-commerce store or another business that is trying to sell something online, you are going to do sales. And if you want the business to collect leads of people leaving their information, then you are going to select leads. For this purpose, we are going to be clicking sales because we are running ads for a pet store. So we want people to buy, which are sales. Under here, you have to set up the conversion actions. So as you can see, purchases is already set up. I have an entire video on conversion tracking, which I will link to down in the description. This is just telling Google which clicks actually led to a conversion. So when someone clicks on an ad and actually buys a thing, Google will know that that person actually led to a purchase, which will improve the Google algorithm with time. So it is super important that you set this up before you actually launch the ads. So check out that video. Then click continue. In here, we have to select the campaign type. So let's do search because that is what we are setting up. And here you can see all of the other campaign types that are offered by Google currently. In here, we click website visits because we want to drive people to our website. And let's do petstore.com. Just type in the main website of the store that you are going to be running ads for and click continue. Here we give the campaign a name, so I like to structure it this way, call it search, then do this line, then do the actual product, so let's do dog treats, and then the name of my agency so that I'm able to see which campaigns I actually set up. Then we click continue. In here, we can start with conversions, so this is what Google is going to be focusing on. If you click conversions, it's going to try to get as many purchases as possible. If you click conversion value, it is going to try to make the purchases worth as much as possible. So it's not going to get as many conversions as possible, just get the biggest conversions possible. And the other ones are clicks and impression share, which we don't really want. We want sales. We are going to click conversions. Here you can set a target cost per action with time. When you begin actually running the ads, you will see what type of ROAS you are generating, but that is not relevant for this first step. Click next. In here, always disable search network and display network. If you keep them enabled, Google Ads will begin showing your ad outside of Google on other search engines, which usually leads to a lot of low quality clicks. So I always recommend disabling this. Under location, you just select the location. So again, let's do the United States. Target, boom. And under location options, you always have to open this one and click presence, not presence or interest. If you keep it at presence or interest, Google will begin showing your ad to people who are interested in the United States, not actually in the United States. So if you are selling a physical product or a service where people have to physically come in and actually be in the country, always change this to presence. Next, choose the languages. I will just keep it at English. Audience segments you can recommend. And this one, broad match keywords, always turn them off. We will get to why a bit later. Then we click next. You can ignore the rest of the settings here. Here we will actually begin creating the ad group. So if we go back to our structure, we can see that we now have created the campaign and now we will begin creating the ad group A1. So let's call this one dog treats. In here, we will add the keywords that we have found. Just ignore all of these pop-ups by Google. It's not going to give you any good ads if you let it do it automatically. So just click create myself. And in here, we will add the keywords that we have found. You should hopefully have a lot more than 3 keywords. 20, 30, 40, 50 keywords is preferred. So just paste them in here. Make sure to remove all spaces between them. Just 1 line per word and you are good to go. Here, we will actually begin creating the ad, which is the cool part of Google Ads display path. This is just a link that will be shown to people when they search. This is not the actual link that they will be sent to. It is just a display link where you can type basically anything you want. So let's do treats and then dog, so that people know that they are going to a page about treats for dogs. In the headlines, always add the maximum amount of headlines, which is 15. How I like to structure it is to make half the headlines, which is 8, and more oriented on the keywords. So focus on getting the keywords and using the keywords in those headlines. And the last 7, use them to sell the actual product or your stores. Talk about things like how many customers you have, how quick your shipping is, how low your prices are, stuff like that. Just selling the person, not necessarily on the product, but on the experience of buying from you. So first headline, let's do dog treat. Let's do high quality dog treats in Oslo, which is the city that I'm. Oh, okay, as you can see, the value is too long. Here you can use a maximum of 30 characters. So let's just do high quality dog treats. Then we have candy for dogs. You can just type it in. Pretty simple, candy for dogs, and make sure that you are using title case, which is when you capitalize every single word in your headline. It is proved that using title case actually increases your click-through rate. So it is a neat hack to get a bit better results. Last, let's do flea treatment for dogs, even though it is not actually relevant, but I have added it as a keyword. So let's just use it. And this way you fill up half of the headlines. And in the last headlines, you, as I said, talk about why your store is actually the best. So let's do 10,000 plus happy customers. Again, not forgetting to use title case. And yeah, it's pretty simple. Just go through it, add it up. You will with time begin understanding how it's done. In the beginning, you have to kind of guess. There is no way for me to explain what the actual best way of setting up ads is. You just have to go through it and begin understanding what the Google algorithm prefers. I am not even able to articulate exactly how I set them up. You just have a hunch when you write them that they are good when you have set them up enough times. In the descriptions, again, add for descriptions. As you can see, this one is actually 90 characters, not 30. In here, you have to do both selling the product through your unique selling points and stuff like that, and actually using the keywords that you are targeting. So let's do dog treats, shipped quickly, 10,000 plus happy customers. As you can see, 50 of that. Yeah, you get it. You just keep adding different sentences. You can make longer sentences, but don't make it too long. Don't have one sentence being 90 characters because people are just not going to read it. People's attention spans are super short. So keep it short, keep it concise, have fairly short sentences. The second one, let's do flea treatment for dogs. And here you don't use title case because it just makes it difficult to read when you have a lot of text as you have in the description. Again, add for descriptions. Under business names and logos, the client has to go through the Google Ads verification to be able to use this one, but I really recommend that they do, because if they do, you are able to show the logo of the business here where the blue icon is right now and the name of the store above the link. It's not a big difference, but it makes you usually pay like 4 to 5% less per click. So why not just set it up once and get a tiny bit better results on every single click. Under site links, we have to add links to other parts of the store. So site links will appear under the ad as those extra additional links, making the ad bigger. And just make sure that those are relevant. Don't have site links to pages like About Us or Contact Us. Have other different types of products. So here you could have dog treats, you could have cat treats, you could have dog food, you could have dog toys, other dog related products. Because in case the person searches for dog treats but actually wants dog toys, then they can just click on the site link and get to the correct page. So let's just go in and quickly add a dog toys as well. So the best dog toys, again here, use one of them to actually sell the product and the other one to sell the store. So I'm just gonna type something in right now. This is fine. I'm not gonna spend too much time doing this. You get the point. Click create and then you can save it and it will begin appearing under your ad. Sometimes when Google deems it necessary, you cannot tell Google when to use it and when to not use it. This is all up to the Google Ads algorithm. Under callouts, again, just add some callouts. Callouts are those additional text thingies that will appear at the end of your description. So here you can add some USPs. Again, 10,000 plus happy customers, free shipping, and just keep going, etc. Click save, add it to your ad, and again, it will sometimes add them at the end of your description. Under more asset types, if you have any promotions, add them in here. The setup is fairly simple. You can add an occasion. So if it's like New Year's, you can click New Year's. If not, just keep it at none. Choose the currency, choose the type of discount, type in the discount, type in what item the discount is for, and which URL people should be sent to if they actually click on the discount. Under prices, again, we can add the prices. Make sure to add as many of those extensions as you are able to, because it makes the ad bigger, which makes more people click on it. So under prices, same as with the promotions, add the header, add the price, add a description, and add a final URL where people will be sent when they click on this product. Calls, if you have a physical business that people can call, add the phone number. If it's just an e-com store, don't add it because you want people to actually go onto the store and buy stuff. You don't want people calling you, you just want purchases. Under structured snippets, again, add those. Those can be different types of facilities, courses, different product types, different product categories. This is in Norwegian right now, but once you begin setting it up, you will get the gist. So let's say I have different courses. So you can click courses and just add the type of different products you have or different services that you have. And again, they will appear at the end of the description. Under lead forms, if you are running ads for a business that needs leads, you can use those. Again, setup is super simple. Headline, business name, description. Choose which things you want people to fill out in this lead form. And when they click submit, the info will be sent to you so that you can follow up and actually sell your service. Apps, if you are running ads for an app, you can add the app here, but if not, don't bother with it. Under URL options, usually in the beginning, if you are running ads for a fairly small store, they won't have to add anything here. But if the client asks you to add some UTM tags for better tracking, you can add them in here. The client will just send you a string of words or a string of symbols that you added here, and that way they are able to better track where the sales are actually coming from. And if you set up triple whale, which you will hear more about in my conversion tracking video, you will also fill in this field, but for now we will leave it empty. Click done. We are done with the first ad. As I said, I recommend setting up 2 of them. So do one that is, for example, more focused on the price and another one that is more focused on the quality. And then with time, you will figure out which sales angle is actually doing the best. Perfect. Let's click next. Here we select the budget. I usually don't recommend a budget any lower than 10 to 15 bucks a month, which is like 150 Norwegian crowns. So let's put it at 150. Click next. Here you will be able to review the ad and actually publish it. So congrats, you have just set up your first campaign. Just make sure that all of these settings are correct. We have 3 keywords, which should be a lot more. You should have 2 ads and the budget is correct. Everything is correct. And then you just click publish and the campaign is live and actually showing to people searching for your keywords. That was it. Now you are ready to set up your first Google Ads search campaign. I hope this video was valuable. If you are an SMMA owner, make sure to join my free school group down in the description. It is a community of other SMMA owners. We are about 80 people in there right now where you can ask questions. Me and the other members will be answering them, and I am hosting weekly Q&A meetings where you can jump on, discuss the problems that you are having, and again, all of the other members are gonna help you out. So you will find the link down in the description. If you have any questions for this video, please make sure to leave them down in the comments and I will get to them as soon as possible. Other than that, have an amazing day, and I will see you next Monday.
That's it. This was the high-level overview of what it would take to scale your eCom paid ads agency from stuck below 15K a month to 50K a month in 6 months. If you want complete access to all of my systems and my personal guidance on implementing them in your own agency, I have opened up a private mentorship where we work together for 6 months on scaling your agency to 50K a month. So if that sounds interesting, click the link below, check out the VSL, and if you're still intrigued, I'll see you on a call. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the top.